Yes, everybody, welcome to the Thursday Night Forum. Arsenal Fan Circle here. Great to have you all here. Pull up a chair. You're all welcome. And yeah, we're grinding toward the end of the season here. There we go. I always do that. Wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for that. Gary, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's my Friday, so yeah, I'm doing good.
So no work tomorrow.
No work tomorrow.
All right, that is nice indeed. Stan,
Yes.
how are you doing today?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
Yeah,
You
not
know,
bad
keep me in there.
myself. Looking forward to the next two games. They're going to tell a lot about Arsenal, and we always have tests, right? We want to test this team. Newcastle away on Sunday. We'll get into that one a little bit later, and then we have Brighton at home the game after, and Brighton away from home has been a tricky challenge. We hope Manchester City go to Brighton away from home and have a difficult game. We hope this weekend Leeds United can do something with Big Sam Stan. Big Sam Allardyce has been installed in Leeds.
Yeah, he's got how many games has he got? 4 games.
4 games.
4 games against pretty much
Yeah, miracle.
all top 10. So
Pretty good teams, Newcastle, Tottenham. But I wouldn't put it past Leeds to get a win or 4 points in these next 4 games, which may be enough. 1 win may be enough down at the bottom. Welcome, Tony. How are you doing? You suffering? Are you okay? A little bit better from bronchitis or what's going on?
Bronchitis kind of broke up yesterday, but still had to go to the doctors today. Spent most of my day doing that. So,
all right. So, welcome, Tony. Thanks for joining us. Great to have you. Gary, we'll start off with you then. Tony Adams inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Premier League Hall of Fame.
yeah. I mean, it's all due to his dancing skills, right?
No,
That's how he got it. No, that's not how he got it. Like he was it. No, yeah. No,
I
really
agree
good.
with Gary.
I thought it was because of his dancing skills. Now, it's good to see. We whenever we talk about Arsenal, we always bring up Tony Adams, right? One of the good leaders for the squad. Like anyone else, he's not perfect, but he on the pitch he did some really good things for Arsenal, and it's good to see the recognition, come through. And yeah. Whenever we bring up what leaders and captains of Arsenal, his name seems to always be part of that list of this is what we want out of our leaders of our squad. So yeah, good to see him in there. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that one. Yeah, good.
Stan, Tony Adams, Hall of Famer. This is a new thing, right, for the Premier League, but it's nice to have that acknowledgement, as Gary said, the accolade of being inducted into the Hall of Fame in the Premier League.
So, what kind of a Hall of Fame is it? Is it like the wrestling one where there's not actually a physical building that you can go to and walk around and look at stuff? And it's
probably very, very virtual. Probably very, very virtual.
Yeah. Well, he's a true legend, and I would say that Tony Adams is not just a legend at Arsenal; he's probably a legend of British football as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, doesn't he hold some record of being something like a captain in 3 decades? Or
yeah, he played for Arsenal across 3 decades.
Yeah,
80s, 90s, and 90s.
Yeah, I think it's a record that he holds. So I'm really pleased that he's getting some acknowledgement for his playing days.
Captain at 21, coming into a George Graham team, and how do you think you would have fared against Haaland, Stan?
I think you'd have loved it.
I think you would have relished that challenge. Yeah,
him and Martin Keown were the sorts of players that kind of relished, to be able to go up against someone like that.
Yeah. It's always
also. I would also say as well, I think it was quite an achievement for him to, to come back from some of his personal demons as well, and be able to put that right. And I've read his book; it's quite interesting.
Addicted.
Read.
Yeah,
Long
yeah,
time
I've got
ago.
it as well. Yeah,
I don't
good
think I've
read.
even still got my.
What's that?
I said, I don't even think I've still got my copy. I don't know where I had it ages ago,
Mhm.
but it was a good read, and there's a good documentary about Tony Adams on YouTube as well. I think it's about half an hour
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, and I mean, when he had to go to jail for one of his demons, the Arsenal team didn't miss a beat, and they played. They continued on in his absence and actually won the league in that year as well, 1991. But yeah, Tony, your namesake, Tony Adams,
Yeah.
inducted.
Got the last 5-6 years of his career. Didn't get to see him at his height, but know what he's worth to the club. Good history with the club. Fans love him. So one of the true legends. Like Stad said, it's nice that he's overcame most of his demons and
Shout out to BX Gunner. Good evening, everyone. Revenite is here. Big up, guys. Celebrating that Brighton, getting that last minute penalty against Manchester United. It probably won't do anything for the top four race, but it might make it interesting. And coming down the home run here. Hey, gents, Arsenal Misfit. Revenite, don't know why I'm up at 244, but I enjoyed the United job so much. I'm up. Yeah. Listen, Liverpool putting a bit of a run together at the end of the season, and 00 Slice X. Good evening, gentlemen. Okay, so starting off with the Chelsea game, 3-1 win over Frank's lot. I think they've lost 6 games in a row. Frank is, I don't know. I think he's won 1 game in 17 or 18, going through Everton and Chelsea, and we were able to bring in some players, Gary, Trossard, Kiwior, and Jorginho.
Yeah. Hello, everybody in the chat. Yeah, it was good to see us go and use our bench. Would have liked to use it sooner, but yeah, it was good to see them come in. I know it is Chelsea, so it isn't an indictment on whether or not they did good or look good or anything like that, because Chelsea is pretty poor right now. Especially the fact that we scored the 3 goals in 30 minutes and pretty much, that was pretty much the game at that point. So it's good to have them in, give them some minutes, and maybe Arteta saw something from them that he could use later in the season, because I think we're gonna need them. And I guess the one negative is Gabriel pulling up lame and limping around pretty much for too long. Should have been pulled earlier, but hopefully it's nothing, and we'll see him again on Sunday, because we need him there. But it was good to get the win, get that stink of dropping points off of off of ourselves essentially. Chelsea came in at the right time. That's basically what we needed. We needed to get a win, and the first 45 minutes we dominated. The second 45 minutes we kind of took our foot off the gas a little bit there, probably a little bit too much, but we'll take the 3 points and we'll move on. We got to get 4 more of these wins. So hopefully this is the start of another streak.
Yeah, Stan, the target's got to be 90 points, 4 more wins. But Kiwior coming in, I think I noted you saying 2 left-footed centre backs. Who would have thought, huh?
Well, yeah. I mean, initially when I saw the lineup, there was a big panic on. I got as much food and water and provisions as I could, hunkered myself down into the basement and barricaded myself in. But lo and behold, Arsenal fielding 2 left-footed centre-backs, the world didn't just spontaneously combust. We're still here to talk about it. We made it through. So who would have thought? 2 left-footed centre-backs. We broke the football taboo. But on a serious note, I mean, I was glad that there was some rotation. I think we needed rotation after the last 4 games. And we got the result that we needed. Now, it was a game that I wasn't able to watch thoroughly because I was quite busy here. But the result was exactly what we needed, because my biggest fear is when you go up against a team that's down and out, like Chelsea have been, and everybody's pointing their fingers and laughing at them, you don't want to be that team that they get that one win against. You know,
Yeah.
you don't want to be that one because
Yeah.
it's just magnified. You know, had we lost to Chelsea or scrambled for a draw, it would have just been blown up and really magnified because of the woes that Chelsea have been suffering. So I'm really glad that we weren't that team. It wasn't us. Someone else can have that.
Yeah. I think City are going to play Chelsea at some point this season, but we would not put the mortgage on Chelsea helping us do anything against City. Ravenite said, John, if United lose a draw against West Ham, I'll start believing. Man United will have a couple of games in hand, but, you know, you got to get close to them, puts pressure on. Frank was everything I hoped for. He would be. Only disappointment was not trashing them 6-0 to avenge our loss to them all those years ago. Yeah. I think there was a situation where we did try to get fourth and fifth goal, but didn't come. And then Chelsea came back. We'll go through the goals. We'll go through the performance a little bit as well. Chris Nix, good to see you here. 3:50 a.m. for me. God knows how I'm up. Got a cheeky feeling we're getting fourth. I know why you're up. You're starting your weekend here with Arsenal Fan Circle and on your Friday morning early. Big up to Kiwior for his part in the win. A good, steady performance from him. And we have to maybe gauge. We'll talk about Kiwior a little bit as well. We have to gauge how he's going to play at Newcastle. Surely he has to play at Newcastle. But Tony, I thought we put together a very, very quick opening part of the game, putting Chelsea to the sword in the first 20 minutes. Big contrast from the Etihad, right? And maybe helped by bringing in some players that we've been talking about, Trossard, Jorginho, and Kiwior. The January signings came in to play.
That's kind of what we did earlier in the season. We'd get the goals and we just stay on a lead. Score quick. There's a lot of times Martinelli scoring in the second minute and Saka the third and stuff like that. So It's not surprising to see us do that. But go back to what Stan said. We went fucking like 10 years with two right-footed center backs, so I don't get why people say you can't field two lefts. It's like we went with two of the same foot for fucking ever.
Yeah.
Until we got Gabriel. I can't remember who was the last left-footed before Gabriel, but it was a long time. But as far as the lineup, a little bit late. Could have sealed the league for us. But here you finally see it. Hopefully it's something you see again. I don't think I would have brought Trossard off with 30 minutes left.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I agree.
It's like the fucking first time he subs with 30 minutes left and he takes the best player off.
I can only hope the reason why he did that is because he's starting on a weekend. Because if he isn't, then it's a waste. It's a waste.
I think that's a good point, Gary. You know, he's got to be starting up at Newcastle. Sam woke up for a pee and wanted to say hello and say to Gary is really a chat GP4 bot, whatever that is. I don't know if
I don't know the chat GP4, but it's just because I'm always on chatting about football, even though I know absolutely nothing about it. So.
Yeah. You do know.
You
Noe,
know, the ball goes in the back of the net.
Shout out to Noe. What's up, guys?
Easy.
Hey
there, Noe.
For too much.
Mm-hmm.
Stan, Odegaard, he's got his shooting boots this season. He's after stepping up a lot this season, and he's scored a lot of goals from midfield.
How many goals has he scored now? What's his tally? What's he on?
10. We just hit 10.
Is it 10?
Oh, I thought he hit 10 now because we have four. We have four players with 10.
Double figures.
I think he's on 14, something like that.
You sure?
Honestly, yeah. Check it out.
I thought he hit 10, and that's why they were saying that now we have 4 players with 10 goals.
He hit 10 a few weeks ago, and then he scored against Southampton, West Ham.
Oh,
So
14. Yeah, you're right. 14.
14.
Where did I get
And
10 from? Oh, it was just Jesus. That's why they're bringing it up. Okay.
14 goals, and I think he's got something like 8 or 9 assists.
7 assists. Yeah.
7 assists. There you go. 22 goal involvements in 34 games, if he's played all the games. Really, really good numbers, as Revenite has said here, Stan. And he's starting to feel at home in the position, and adding that bow to his game as well.
Well, he's had that the entire time. He can score. He just doesn't shoot enough.
Yeah, he should have 20 goals by now. I mean, he's definitely not taking enough shots. He's definitely not taking shots when he should have, and we could have used him. So yeah, I've been wanting him to shoot since I've seen him. Since he gave up those free kicks to Cedric, I'm like, no. You have to take every free kick, and you take the shots when you get them, because I think he's got the best shot from distance. And he shows it. When he shows it, I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it again. So whenever he gets that chance, he needs to just take it instead of looking for the pass, because his shot with space and distance is really good. So
BX said those numbers are fantastic. 8 assists, brilliant numbers from a Liverpool fan as well, noting that. Thank you. It was Jesus that hit 10 in this match. Stan, I think he's always had it, the skill, and you can see the close control in the box. So he can score a variety of different kind of goals as well.
And I think you have to give a little bit of gratitude over to the manager as well. I think that they've been really working with him, and I think he's just going to continue improving. I mean, he's so young, and he's already doing it. He looks so comfortable playing in the Premier League. And he's been given the captain's armband, which must go to tell you a little bit more about what his actual personality is like, what he's like in training. Mikel Arteta obviously sees him as a fantastic example to everyone, not just what he does in game, but how he's managing himself off the pitch as well. I just can't wait to see how much this guy's going to improve. The numbers that this guy's going to put up, and some of the things that I think he's going to be able to do for us, it's just going to be delicious.
Yeah. And I think the intention of getting, more midfield and more of a midfield presence in maybe a Declan Rice or a Caicedo is only going to help Odegaard have more control in games, and he's not going to go missing as much in the bigger games, Tony.
But hang on, just one thing you said there. The other way though is that you've probably got players like Declan Rice and whoever, they probably want to come and play with Martin Odegaard.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I want to play in the midfield with that guy. He'll make me look even better. Yeah.
And if I'm Declan Rice, I'm the player who can, I'm the missing piece almost. Not so much the missing piece, but I can help this team get another 5, 6, 7.
What's disappointing is that he only has the 7 assists. Because Xhaka has 11. So it's like, well, on FB ref, it still says 7. So I'm not sure where the 8 come from. So.
Right.
But yeah, so he still doesn't have double-digit assists, which is not on him. He's put a lot of balls into spaces for people to put away, and they just haven't done it. So he's he could be easily 30 goal contributions this season if he had one, I think, taking shots, and 2 those that he passed the ball to finish their dinner, as they say. So yeah. So he's been doing really well.
That's what happens when you don't have a real striker either. You don't have somebody to target.
Yeah, listen, I thought Gabriel Jesus played a little bit more higher in the box in this game, and we saw him getting on the scoring in the scoring charts as well, hitting 10. We did talk about that in the last few weeks. If Gabriel Jesus could hit 10 in the remaining games for the season.
What's crazy is if Leandro Trossard gets one more goal contribution, we'll have 6 players with double-digit goal contributions for the season.
Yeah,
it's crazy, right? I mean,
yeah.
It's just
especially a guy that's played 8 games basically.
Well, 16. He's played in 16 games. He started 8.
Yeah, there's a crazy stat that I think Danny put out from GFP. Danny, Trossard has started 8 games. We won all 8 of the games. When he hasn't started, we've only won 1 of those 8 games. So that's a stat that I think Mikel Arteta needs to take notice of. He doesn't have to play him every game, but he needs to play the majority of the games, I think.
He should.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I don't understand why he doesn't start. I don't know what more you want a player to do for you than, lead your team in assists once he arrives. Right?
Steven said,
I just think that with having worked with a group of players for a long time and Trossard being a new addition, and the players that we have in the 3 main positions that he can go into, I think he's very low, isn't he? We all know that Arteta is very loath to take off Xhaka. So getting in on the right hand side, man, that's going to be fleeting appearances at most. And I think with Martinelli, with the numbers that Martinelli's put up, I think he trusts Martinelli a lot on that side. And then you've got his big investment through the middle, who, to seal the deal, made promises of playing through the middle and being the number 1 guy. I think it's a little bit of it's a nice problem to have, because if somebody does get injured or suspended or really goes out of poor form, you've got this guy, but it's a difficult one. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's an easy one. I don't know what more you do is look at the stats.
Yeah.
So who are you taking out?
He starts, you win. I don't know. Do you want to win? I feel like I
you
want
could
to win.
even take Xhaka. You
I
could
don't
even
care.
take Xhaka.
You could take. I keep saying this. Everybody says, "Who do you take out?" I don't care. I think he's, like you said, I think he's more likely to come on the right or in the middle, right? I think
it'd be interesting to see,
but it doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm not aware, but it'd be interesting to see if he's played, in the games that he's played, has he been used in a certain place most of the time, or is it quite equally spread in various positions?
This guy will be able to tell you. Yeah, Tony will be able to tell you.
Maybe there's one position where that's where he seems to be producing the most for us, whether it's assists or goals.
I think I would say the majority he's played is in Martinelli's position, on that left wing position. The majority
through the middle.
He played through the middle when Jesus was not available.
He's been on the right. He's been on the right hand side as well.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Like I said, it doesn't matter. And if you can rotate him around, then that means you can rest your front line. You know what I mean? So I don't see a negative in that either. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, it's not that he has to start every game in a row, but he should get a run of games.
It's
He's a good starter. He's a starter for us.
He's a great piece to have. Martinelli's a great piece to have. Xhaka obviously is a great piece to have. Jesus and Odegaard, these are all pieces of the puzzle that can be rotated in.
Do you think, not what you want, but do you think Mikel Arteta is going to start him against Newcastle, Trossard? I don't.
I'll be surprised if he starts him. I'd be surprised. Just because, like you said, he just has his favorites, which makes no sense, because if he's learned anything from Pep, you don't have to play the 3 players that have been there the longest. You can rotate your players. He does that.
I think he's got to play, and I think he will play on Sunday, and I think he will be picked as well.
Head of who? Martinelli.
Head of Martinelli again for me. Yeah, head of Martinelli for me. And
okay. So you want to know where he started on his starts?
Well, you can just give us. Yeah. Do we want the most starts, or do we want a complete?
Just all of them. There's only 16. There's only 8, so it's not that many.
There's left wing, center forward, left mid, center forward, right midfield.
Center
forward. I know. I don't want to count him.
Give us a tally. Give us a tally.
What did he eat for breakfast?
Tony's gonna be working at the local polling station.
3 times left midfield. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times as center forward.
What was the first number?
3.
I was correct.
Are those the starts?
I was incorrect. It was 4. I'm just adding them all in that he's played for Arsenal. It's easier.
So those are
then.
the starts, right, Tony?
Yeah, 4 there, then one at right wing.
I'm feeling a notwithstanding coming.
So he's
I was
played
going to say it.
mostly in the middle and or the left, right, and then once on the
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
So if it's once on the right, then no, he can play anywhere, and I think we should play him anywhere.
Yeah.
You know,
And
just
if Saka's having a bad game up at Newcastle, take him off. Put Trossard on the right. Put Jesus.
why
on the
can't
right.
Trossard
I thought you
start
said you were
though?
starting him.
See?
That's what I'm saying.
But then
What do you mean?
you're bringing him on now. You're bringing him on now.
Yeah. No, we're talking about starting him.
You just said if Saka's having a bad game,
That's what you
bring him
yeah.
off. So then
Everybody in the
put him
world
on.
heard you say bring him on.
Okay. In my mind, Trossard was on the field and we're moving him to right wing when Saka gets pulled off. Okay. That was in
Where
my
does he
mind.
start?
What?
Where does he start? What
I already
position?
told you in Martinelli's position.
Oh, okay.
Are you thinking of the famous Todd Bowley 4-3-3 formation?
I would not. I would
Whatever it is.
start him at. I'd start him at center forward.
We can get
Yeah.
into the Newcastle game in a little bit. Let's go through the Chelsea game and then we'll get into that one.
I had a question for Stan. Oh well.
Oh, he just left. John said, Ravenite FC. I think Arteta.
If
Go
you
ahead,
put
Tony.
him at center forward, do you move Jesus to one of the wings, or do you put him on?
Well, it
the
depends if
bench?
he's on the bench. Because if he's on the bench, Jesus, he could come on for Trossard if needed, or Saka. And he was quite productive. He was quite versatile when he played on the right hand side for Man City. He banged in a lot of goals and was involved in goal scoring opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know what's been. We don't know what's been said to him, right? When we were trying to buy him, we don't know what promises were made about how often and where. Do you know what I mean?
Well, he's got the number 9 shirt, so that's what he was
That
told.
looks weird on the right.
I know you don't like
weird.
that. I know you don't like that. John said, I think Arteta should have done this more to keep your squad fresh, but he didn't trust him enough. And I think, unfortunately, if we're going to finish second here, we're going to be looking back with regret in terms of things Arteta didn't
the
do.
way he trusts player, he doesn't. Supposedly, he has loved Jorginho for years, but he doesn't use him to close out games. He doesn't use him when we're losing control of our midfield. He doesn't use him when maybe he should start a match because we're going up against City, for example. All these different scenarios, he doesn't trust him for that. But he loved the guy for years. You know what I mean? He loved William, right? William brought him in and let him play out everything, right?
Yeah.
Jorginho, I believe.
I thought
Jorginho would have been in the same. I thought Jorginho would be in the same class of trust or confidence that he has with him.
Don't you, Ray?
What's that, Tony?
Think that William had to have a guaranteed starts.
I don't think anyone should be brought into a club with a condition that they're going to have guaranteed starts. So I don't think that is a situation that would have happened.
You don't think it was?
No. I just think that.
Then why did you keep playing him?
I think Arteta just valued him over Pepe. That's why. BX kind of said Norway should make a major tournament soon. They have Odegaard, they've got Haaland. They need 9 other players.
Yeah, exactly. They need a full squad.
They need some decent players behind them as well. Don't know what to make of Xhaka. 2 great passes for goals. Then his final ball deserted him for the rest of the match. Poor pass, poor shots, and his ball control went away. He could have scored a 3rd goal in the second half. He was part of that schmozzle that became Jesus' goal. Yeah, schmozzle. Schmigadoon schmozzle. And became part of Jesus' 3rd goal. So I don't know if he got a 3rd assist for Jesus' goal or not. But Tony, Granit Xhaka. 2 assists.
I think many have given him the 3rd assist, if I recall.
3 assists, Tony.
Mhm.
Hat trick.
Don't care. Still think we got better players there.
Listen, it's all good. It's all fun. My only beef with this match was Saka not being rested, with Trossard taking his place. Saka was our least effective forward in this match. Saka's gone a little bit off the boil, but he doesn't need to carry the team anymore. We do have options to
But
bring
he was
in.
going through that really hot streaks. Now you're seeing the right.
And it's up to
Tell
Arteta
too
to
many
notice
minutes
these
again.
things.
You see, can I just mention now? I know that a lot of people talk about, this player looks tired, and this player all of a sudden seems tired. They've been playing too much. I was listening to an interview in the week on Chronicles of a Gooner channel. Quick plug for Harry, and he was interviewing. He was interviewing the Romford Pele, Ray Parlour, and they were talking about this, and he says, no. He goes, no, I don't believe in that. He goes, when I was playing, he goes, especially if you're only playing 1 week, one game in a week, he goes, you can't wait for the next game to come round. And he said, especially when you're winning, he goes, you literally feel like you want to just play all of the time. And he goes, that these are young lads. He goes, they should be quite able to go through a whole season playing 1 game a week. He said, obviously, when you start getting a little bit older, 27, 28, 29, he goes, your body obviously operates in a different way. He goes, but when you're at this age, he doesn't believe that, you can overburn out a player, that playing, more than, playing 1 week regularly is too much after a period of time. So I'm just throwing that out there from someone that's been there and done it, right? Because I've always felt myself that how can they be tired? It's playing 1 week, 1 game a week, and they're doing their training. Their bodies are built for it. Their bodies are built to for the mileage compared to my body. Do you know what I mean? I don't see how. Maybe players just go through bad form. I don't know.
And listen, I think we have to say Mikel Arteta has over-relied on 14, 15, or 16 of these players, and maybe he could have used some of the other parts of the squad. I want to answer Stevie's question.
Where did you come up with those high numbers?
Let's say you've got Lionel Messi in your team, right? It's Lionel Messi, and he has a couple of games where he hasn't done much. I mean, do you take him out for the 3rd game? It's Lionel
That's
Messi.
not even a good comparison, and you know it. That's not even a good comparison. But that's not a good comparison.
A of importance to your team. It's the same
there's importance, but then there's also world-class GOAT, all of that. You can't just look at Messi as just a regular football player.
All right. Okay, Kevin De Bruyne then. Kevin De Bruyne. I'm talking about
the best midfielder in the world, probably. To many,
I'm talking about football. What I'm talking about though is the caliber of player that, as a manager, that they can make things happen. You've seen them do it. You've seen them have quiet games, and in the 75th minute, they've pulled out a piece of magic, and it's won you the game. And if you've got a player that's of that kind of reputation and importance to your team, whether it's Messi in PSG, whether it's De Bruyne in Man City, or whether it's a player on our team, the manager, I think, is going to be loath, especially when you're running for a title, to leave out those players that can, out of nothing, in the 93rd minute of extra time, they can maybe still nick you a goal, put a ball into the box.
KDB did not play every game early in the
season.
Okay,
all right.
It wasn't because of injuries. It wasn't because he wasn't healthy. He wasn't playing good.
Messi was too high. Kevin De Bruyne's a bit. Okay, James Madison, Buendia.
I just told you, but you're bringing but players need to be rotated.
The name isn't of importance. It's what I'm trying. That's the point I'm trying to make is the individual player's importance to that team that they play on. All right, forget Messi, forget De Bruyne. Pick any player that you want. Maybe it's Matoma, maybe it's Casado, maybe it's Declan Rice. But there are players that managers will probably be loath to leave out, even if they're going through bad run of form, because they just believe that player is better.
Okay, but that's the point I'm trying to make. Doesn't a young player who is not there yet in their prime mean that they are not going to be consistent? We keep bringing up that this is one of the youngest teams. If we're in a solid position now to win
they're all young.
Yeah, but the players that's why they need to rotate, right?
And
You know,
sometimes the coach.
when you're talking about
needs
a
to.
lot of these players, some of them have been playing for a while, right? And they know how to work through those dark days when everything's just not working. They do bring out something in the game. But these are still young players trying to figure this thing out. Not
Also, Gary,
right?
sometimes a manager has to save a player from himself. If Saka hasn't been performing in 2 or 3 games, hasn't been scoring, do you wait and wait on that player to come back, or do you put a player in like a Trossard, a Jesus, a Nelson even?
Well, he's been
Um,
in and out of form.
the manager
most of
has
the
to make
season.
these decisions, Tony.
Yep, and his decision is to play him. Because
Would you do in a situation where a player has a bad game, but then during the week in training, you're watching them and they don't look off the pace or anything. They're doing all the things that they need to do. You're going to pick them.
yep,
I mean, it depends on the
I think the best player-
circumstances, Yeah. I mean, this is why the manager's getting paid to make these decisions. You know what I mean? I do want to answer Stephen's question here. Ray, why are you insisting on benching our leading goal scorer in Martinelli, right? When our right winger is getting worn out and is not near his best. I was
Saka
talking
was
about,
just on form not too long
Okay.
You
ago.
know what?
Are
I
you
think
answering it,
VX
or-
has hit it on the head when he says Saka is
Or me.
Arteta's talisman. That's it.
But
That's the
Stephen-
answer.
Stephen wants my answer as well, though, because he just said Ray. Okay. I believe at Newcastle, we're going to need to hold on to the ball and have ball retention. I want Trossard playing. I don't want Martinelli, because we're going to be starting to playing on the counterattack. Martinelli is not good at holding on to the ball. He's good at getting on the end of things. So I would want to start with Trossard on the left. Sorry, who else said something? BX had a good point. Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
he says
Stephen?
Saka is Arteta's talisman.
Saka
And when a manager
is
has a
Arteta's
talisman,
talisman.
they tend to over rely on them sometimes. I bet there's times when Salah could have probably been taken out of the Liverpool team, but
Well,
Klopp wouldn't drop him.
That's,
I have a question.
sure, go ahead.
Do you play a 21-year-old Saka 3,417 minutes with 4 games remaining?
Well, next season you don't.
I always go back to the Bayern Munich team.
That's a
When they had
minutes
Thomas
on
Muller
your
on
bench.
there, he was 22 years old. He didn't start every game, and I think in the career of a footballer, when you're under 24, you don't have to play every game just because you're young, and you can do it. It is a mental and physical strain on the body, and that's when you see people burn out. We don't need to burn these guys out. Especially when you have answers, which we have an answer now in Trossard. There's no reason to have to play them every game just because they're young and they can recover. Mentally, they're not recovering. We were playing 1 game a week now. We don't look any better than when we were playing 2 games a week. Those players were coming in, at the halftime or late in games midweek. We don't look as good, and that's partly, and especially at the end of the season. It's when you
And you
definitely
got-
would like to rotate your players. So, and we just went through this last season, and the reason why we had similar results is because we never got to rotate our players, so we never had that opportunity for them to be at least physically and mentally, probably more than physically, able to go through a whole 38-game season.
Then you
But
got
according to
Gabriel
Ray Parler,
Magalhaes.
you shouldn't be. He says that's not the case.
Is he talking about 20-year-olds? I don't think he is. He's talking about footballers.
He was that age when he was in the Arsenal squad.
Yeah,
They
he
don't
was
make them
saying
like
they
that
could come
anymore.
in.
You're
saying
talking
what he said.
okay, but are
19.
you comparing Tony Adams to any of our players
I'm
right
just saying
now?
though, when you say a player is
That age?
mentally tired, you don't know that. You've not spoken.
You don't
to
know
him.
anything.
You don't know that.
Whatever you just said, he doesn't know what's going on with football right now. He knows in his day and age.
But if you listen to a player that's been there and done it at the similar age, and he says that's not the case, then I'm inclined to listen to that.
Yeah, but that's a different time period. What he was doing back in those days,
He's a professional footballer.
Now, they're not the same. He can't. He's not in those.
If Ray Parler is saying that, though, you got to listen to it because he's been there, done that. He came into the team at the age of 19. I think I saw his debut was up at Anfield. Gave away a penalty, and Tony Adams pulled him up actually and said, "Forget about it. Let's go on. You've got a career ahead of you." And Ray Parler, I think Ian Wright, these type of players are giving us insights into what's going on in the dressing room as well. And, we are a young team. Yes, we don't know what the effects of the mental stress of being in the title race is as well. There's many parts of this puzzle that we're not privy to at times. And Ray Parler, I think, has given us an insight into what it could look like. You know what I mean? So I think when professional footballers speak, we have to listen sometimes as well.
I don't think he would say it's good for Gabriel to have 3,780 minutes. That's a shit ton of minutes.
I mean, the first things we complained about when we saw all the minutes these players were playing about, we were looking at, Jack Wilshere and saying, you know what, maybe he played too much, right? And we're doing it to our young players right now.
Well, Jack Wilshere, it was more the way he played. He liked to keep the ball close to his feet. He liked to invite challenges into him, and he had to overcome some.
Saka doesn't?
Bukayo Saka does similar things as well. Yeah. Fullbacks are crunching him. We know he's not getting the protection as well. And
I truly believe that the game is different right now than it was back in the days. Those guys were a lot tougher back then, and they were brought up a different way than we play now. They're a lot, as people say, they're coddled a lot more than they were in the past. Right. So I think it's a totally different game. I understand players talking about when back in their days, but the football these days is not the same. I think everybody even says it. Anybody who's watched the old football days, back in 30 years ago, and then watches the football now, it's not the same. The game is a lot slower. Which I think probably keeps them not as fit as you want them to be.
I don't think the pace of the game has changed. I think the pace of the game's just as fast as it was 30 years ago.
I watched the replay every game on when these guys have done reviews of games. It was constant pressure over. Like the ball goes out, goes right back in. Now it spends like 5-10 seconds before it even gets thrown back in. No, they put in work is when I looked at it. So
Steven said
Saka
is not playing like our talisman right now. He's lost his explosive acceleration to get past players, and he's having to rely on his trickery. Defenders are now able to catch up to Saka when he wants to step on them. That was not happening earlier in the season. I think, yes, Saka is getting tired, but I think he still was getting crunched earlier in the season.
Well, he started the season bad. Then around November, he started clicking. Then that continued past the World Cup. And it's just here in the last 3-4 games that he's slid off, and I don't think it's that bad.
BX says he's looking at this season like the Bulls 89-90 season. Next season, Saka is going to be doing Jordan things, But yeah, Odegaard scoring 2 goals. Great connection on the first one. And great connection again on the second one, just controlling the pass from Granit Xhaka. Granit Xhaka, playing in a position that's more beneficial to his skill set. And we're still keeping our noses clean in terms of no red cards. And I hope that stays till the end of the season as well. There is Gabriel Jesus scoring the 3rd goal. We're 3-0 up to halftime. And then into the second half, we are probing, trying to get a second goal, but it doesn't happen. And then we have Zinchenko kind of switching off. Does everyone feel it was Zinchenko on the back stick there, switching off for that Chelsea goal?
Yeah.
I
mean, yeah. Disappointing, but yeah. I mean, I think this is where if you have a rotation, if you rotate your players, and you get to the point where if you watch that second half, at some point it's like, well, guess what? It's whatever we have in that first half is gone now. We need to change things up and or solidify things and close out this game, especially at home when we're like the second worst team in terms of home clean sheets.
That's a good point. We want to go into that one. I believe the socks have holes in them now for some reason. They're not getting. It's not fullbacks
Oh,
kicking.
is it the whole? Oh, yeah. There's multiple players that cut it.
They
Have those
cut the
cutouts.
holes in their socks for some reason.
Oh, I thought it was moths.
It's
There's
for
some
air.
scientific. There is a
Either for the air, or
scientific reason.
the heat on the
Yeah.
certain muscle parts.
Yeah.
No,
But
I mean,
ahead,
I just say, you know how we always said Holding would come in to close out games, right?
mm-hmm.
That's Tierney needs to come in and close out games. If we're not going to start him, I mean, and it's not like he's not. That's what he's good at, right? At least being defensively sound to some degree, better than Zinchenko. So he should come in. Same thing if Jorginho's not starting, he comes in to close out games as well, because he's good at holding the ball up and stuff like that. So we have ways to play to get it to see a game out. You know, if we have a 1-goal lead, Jorginho can come in and help close out this thing, right? Just like Holding used to do for us when he wasn't starting. So that, you know, players have certain skills or certain positions in the squad, and you should use that. That one that keeps them engaged. They know they're going to play if we're playing well, no matter what, or if we, you know. So I think we should utilize that, and a lot of managers will do that. You'll notice certain players come on, right? You see it like when Jota came on, you saw Jota come in games, right? When things started to get stale and they needed a goal, and he used to provide that every time he came in. So
to me, it's weird because all season it's 80-minute substitutions. That's where the rest of them were. But at 60 minutes, you bring off Trossard. It's like a second time he's changed the player early all season.
I generally agree with you on this one, Tony. But if Gary's right and we see Trossard starting at Newcastle, then we can say that was the reason why we're keeping Trossard fresh. You know, Stan, this issue in left back kind of continues, right? I know where you stand on this. Go ahead.
I've noticed recently on Twitter, and I've noticed it more recently that there's a few people that seem to be a bit fed up with Zinchenko. Fed up, I think, is maybe the right word to use with Zinchenko, saying things like, "Man, I'm done with this Zinchenko experiment," or "Oh man, I've had enough of this inverted thing," you know. And why is KT, you know, being talked about being moved on to other teams? You know, at least he can defend. We need this guy. And there's talk of KT going into maybe Newcastle could be interested. But the one that surprised me was, and again, all because it's coming up towards the summer transfer window, we're going to start hearing a lot of things. And we know that some of it's horseshit, you know. But there was one article I was reading saying that Manchester City were interested in Tierney. And that really made my piss boil, because I'm thinking, when that they can, let's say it's true, then that means that they can obviously find a use for him. So why can't we find a use for him? Do you know what I mean? You know, it's all right us taking Zinchenko off the league leaders, but we're going to give them one of ours now. What's going on there? What have they got planned for? You know, like
you just said it could be a lot of horseshit. You just said that yourself. Yeah? It could be.
Of course,
take it with a pinch of salt.
Of course. But even Newcastle, again, Newcastle is a team that, you know, they're looking like they're becoming competition to Arsenal now. They're a team that we begin to think about when we see that come up on the fixture list. You know, so you know, this is a guy that it only seems like half an hour ago that people want him to be the captain, and he seems to be fallen so far down the pecking order. We know that he's had some injuries, but now he's fully fit. He's not even getting a. He's not even getting.
I think it's because our managers are wasteful, and we just don't want to see players sitting around idle, and we're not like. I rather him, like, as much as I don't want him to play like Holding, I rather him have players he's going to want to play.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because that for me that means at least he's got some confidence in the player, and that player hopefully will reciprocate with the way that he plays. But if he's just going to sit players down that have the skills to do certain things and he won't use them in those scenarios, then what's the point of having him on your squad? Go bring in a player that you're going to play. That's what I want him to always. I keep saying this. Look at his bench and have answers all over the place. I need defense. I got it. I need offense. I got it. You know what I mean? He needs to be able to do that. He can't. He's not doing. He can't do that right now, either because he's got a mental block or he just doesn't have the players that he wants.
Tony.
Right?
Yep. Tony.
To me, it's crazy. You look at your bench. You got Tierney. You got Rob Holding. How the fuck do you choose Rob Holding to seal up a game, to close it off? All the time, Rob Holding's coming on with 15, 20 minutes left. Why would that not be Tierney?
Are we being fair to Zinchenko either? Do you think Zinchenko wants to play left back in that position and be caught out defensively? And
it's not left back. He's a wing back.
That's the position he's playing, Tony. When these goals are going in, he's in that position.
He's usually not back there.
So basically, we're not playing with a left back.
Very
Sounds
much,
like you're saying we're not playing with a left back. He's not doing the left back.
We're playing with a midfield. He's a midfielder. Zinchenko's a midfielder.
Then we're not playing with a left back. We're playing in a weird formation, and it doesn't have a left back.
Yeah, when he got beat, when he got
he's never there at left back.
When he got shredded by Trent Arnold, guess where he was on the pitch, if I recall.
Shredded by who?
Box. He was inside the box, just inside the half line. He was way inside, not outside.
Where? Which goal?
When Trent went by him and put that pass in to get the
he was on the edge of his box.
Yeah, not wide outside, right? So
yeah, wide outside on the edge of his box, close to the corner flag, right?
I thought he was a lot closer than that. I thought he was further in than that corner.
Right on the maybe a yard or two outside the edge of the box. Trent puts.
I thought he was well inside the box when it happened.
No, outside the box.
He's not. He's never been trusted, has he? He's never been. I mean, with the injuries that we've had, and people talking about rotation, we've never seen Tierney start at left back and Zinchenko in the midfield. Why do you think that is? Do you reckon? We've never seen him play. He played Vieira ahead. He'll play Vieira ahead of Zinchenko. Zinchenko's got more experience playing in the Premier League and allegedly plays midfield for his country. But Mikel Arteta won't put him in there.
We cannot go to Newcastle with Zinchenko. We can't go to Newcastle with a flat back four and playing Zinchenko as our de facto left back. We're going to get shredded. We're going to get shredded there.
If you're going to do that against City, you're going to do it against Newcastle. I'm sorry. That's just the way we've seen this thing.
You're both right.
It's disappointing. It's disappointing.
Oh.
He did it against City. If he's going to do it against City,
right.
About what?
Because Ray's saying, like, if we go up there and do that, we're going to get shredded, which we will. Do you know what I mean? And Gary's like saying, well, if he did it against that and he did it against that, he's going to do it against that. You're both right. So what does that mean? That's simple.
We have potential on Sunday. Arteta has potential on Sunday to look at what happened at City and not make the same mistakes.
Yeah, but all of this stems from what happened in Liverpool, late in Liverpool when he needed to make a change, against West Ham when he needed to make a change, in Southampton when he needed to make a change. And I looked at it. If he
West Ham.
Let me finish. He needed to make a sub late in the Liverpool match to change the tide there. He needed to make a sub at halftime in the West Ham game. He needed to make a sub after about 20, 30 minutes in the Southampton game when Vieira just wasn't going to be the answer. He didn't make the changes. At least, I would have expected him to at least change the starting lineup, but he didn't. I said, okay. So at least when there's a problem, make the change. He still didn't make the change then.
Yeah.
And it's like, is he learning? Like, those are three substitution scenarios that I think he should have done. He didn't do it. Then in Chelsea, once again, late in the game, let's see this thing out. We'll bring in Tierney to close this game out. He doesn't sub him.
I think the reality of this season is that Arsenal, the team, and Mikel Arteta, the manager, needed to be perfect for 38 games of this season. And we haven't been perfect. Arteta, in my opinion, has been slow to make changes. We almost got away at Anfield. We'll take a point at Anfield, begrudgingly. We should have really lost that game at Anfield.
Just
But
call him a stubborn bastard, Drake. That's all you do.
things were going on at West Ham, and Kieran Tierney was on the field when that equaliser went in. So Kieran Tierney was in the team, but we couldn't hold an offside line. You're right about the offside line, Gary. And Southampton, we're probably going to look back at Southampton and say, if we lose this thing by 2 points, there were the 2 points that we needed. With Fabio Vieira starting. Fabio Vieira
thinking about 2 points. You shouldn't have brought the 2 points up. I think Stan's thinking.
He's thinking about 2 points in other places. Yes, it's true. But for all of Arteta's shortcomings, I think that he has implemented a style of play that has gotten us a lot of points as well.
It works 90% of the time, and he will not change it for the other 10%, 15% of the time.
That's the learning curve.
When he needs to, and when it's basically in his face, right? In your face, here, look, you're gonna have to make a change. Like we are as light as we are defensively going into that City match. The last thing you want to do is play straight up like I'm like a boxer who comes straight at you, but he has no defense. You're just gonna knock him out, and that's kind of what happened. We tried to.
I wanted a double pivot. I wanted three at the back, and I wanted Trossard in the team for City game.
Came over.
I got none of that, Gary, and guess what happened? We got spanked. We got spanked 4-1 at City.
Yeah.
Can I answer Tom's question now?
Arteta's looked at that. He's made changes for this game against Chelsea, and I believe he needs to learn from this now and go with something similar at Newcastle. I understand Newcastle are going to come at us. Tony knows what happened to Newcastle. Tony's going to be talking about Newcastle a little bit later. Go ahead, Tony.
That's the worst game I've seen us fucking play ever.
Yeah.
At Newcastle. Could easily won 4th place, but instead it looked like nobody had any desire to play football that day. But as far as Tom's question, he said what is this? Would play Omas.
Who's Omas?
He's like 7.
He's a potential summer signing.
Nigerian giant. And you would play him as goalkeeper because he'd freaking block out 2/3.
CDM.
You're loving that I don't know what this is.
Midfield destroyer.
I thought it was a nickname for somebody. I didn't.
Just think of a really, really big black guy.
Okay.
This means he can't move.
Okay.
So they're gonna score on him anyways.
Everton was my worst game of the year. I think Southampton's come back to haunt me again this season. Tony, are you doing something here? Left back is a continuing issue for us. We had Granit Xhaka last season trying to do that job that Zinchenko's doing now. Zinchenko's doing that job to a much better standard.
He's not doing the same job. Xhaka was dropping back. For the most part, Xhaka was dropping back.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Zinchenko, but now everybody's attacking. Granite's going up there. You got 7 players attacking. And usually the only one that comes back now sometimes is White. Zinchenko hardly ever does. And that's what Saka's start of the season, I think he was flat because he was dropping back a lot. And so was Odegaard.
So I think Arteta's got to look at this because we're putting a lot of pressure on Gabriel Magalhaes, right? Playing this way. We're asking Gabriel Magalhaes to hold up the whole left side of that defense.
And especially when you put him almost right on the midfield line.
Zinchenko.
Mega-leg.
Yeah.
It's hard. No, I'm talking about mega legs because before Saliba got injured, he would be about 5 yards ahead of a midway line and Gabriel would be right on it. Then teams finally learn just do a through ball past those guys and it's open freaking net.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gabriel
right button.
Magalhaes, as Gary mentioned, came up a little bit gimpy after that goal.
That's
Stayed
what
on the
happens
field.
when you play
Any news on that?
3,780 minutes, right?
I think there's no news that I know. If anyone knows about it in chat box, let me know what's the current status of Gabriel Magalhaes. But you see him walking around, albeit limping a little bit at the end of the game. But by all accounts, he's a warrior. He's one of our toughest players in our squad, and he's got 3 days of rest and recuperation.
And he's
So
also
I would
probably
expect to see him line up against Newcastle.
and he's one of the main ones that goes and talks to the referee. Does it more than Odegaard does.
Okay, what's that got to do with it?
He communicates. He communicates a lot. He's a leader.
Portuguese.
Yeah. The Portuguese. Yeah. So I expect Gabriel Magalhaes to recover in time for the game, but we do have an issue at left back that I think Mikel Arteta needs to address satisfactorily, and Kieran Tierney's got to be part of it.
What would you do?
The problem is that
I'll tell you.
we don't play a left back.
I know.
We don't play a left back.
I know.
We
One of
play
our left
wing
backs are missing. I part of the film.
We play wing backs. That's why I would set up as a back three. Then you
Correct.
have the guys
Oh, no.
going
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
No. No,
Do you
no,
see
no, no, no.
Stan? Did you watch the City match?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I believe we play with a back four like we did against City. It won't look any different. Isaac is a monster right now. He's playing his form is really, really good right
They
now.
are very
Yeah.
good. The way that they played against us in the last game, where they were kind of like more just like, almost two banks of four and trying to play anti-football, I don't think they're going to do that at home because they got the players
No.
back. They didn't have those
They-
players present. They're a good outfit.
They're going to want to win, Stan.
Isaac, the other day, that goal he scored, he was like the Harlem Globetrotters on his own.
Yeah, that's why I
He's
don't believe we should be playing in a back four at all. I mean, we need to have 3 center backs back there, however, what combination we want to use. Also, Magalhaes, if he did come off with a soreness, injury, whatever, he won't be informed to come in. So if you try to play him the regular way, or I think it's asking too much at this point. I mean, it's written on the wall. Back three. Come on.
Do you not think
Just
though
do
that
it.
if we go up to Newcastle and we go there with a different formation, which is a more of a defensive formation, do you not think that we're giving them a little bump there? But they're thinking, oh yeah, look at them, they're a bit worried here, and it just makes them like think, yeah, let's get onto them.
Stan, okay, I'll keep repeating this until it sticks. Did you watch the City match?
I'll be right back.
That's your answer why you need to go to a back three. We cannot handle a team that's going to come at us like that. And right now, Newcastle can.
But I've seen Arsenal. But the thing is, though, when I watched the City match, I've seen Arsenal play better than that. I've seen them play better than that, home and away.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I honestly believe that with the City match, they were probably thinking about the City match before the Southampton match. And we've got that out of our system now. And, we've got to where we've gotten because of a method. And I just don't like... ripping everything up and going in a new way.
It's not ripping it out. You need to be able to do this change once in a while, especially when you're down one of your best center backs. You're down one of your best utility men on the back line, right?
When you're as a plan B.
The plan B is too late after they've given up 2 goals.
I'm all for you do what you play your game, and if it isn't working, then you've got a plan B. I'm not saying be stubborn.
We're not healthy. We're not playing with a full stack
what
right now.
worries me
With a
as
full
well?
deck.
We play 5 at the back. We get another injury at the back. It's over. We can't play all of our
Not necessarily.
No, they don't have to extend themselves as much as they would if they're
Okay.
back four.
Well, I just don't like that formation.
Hear me out.
I just don't like it. Argue against that. I don't like that formation.
We're going to go to Newcastle. Bruno Gummy Bears is going to be all over midfield. Those wingers are going to be attacking us. Trippier is going to be kicking
Why
people
can't we
up.
do that?
Up
Why
and
can't
down.
our wingers be attacking them? Why can't Martin Odegaard be all
Yes,
over them?
yeah, we can do that, but we need to be secure at the back as well. So here's my team. Okay, just hear me out, and then Gary, Tony, and Stan can give you their team.
Just hear me
Okay,
out, then all go mad.
I want to play a back three. I want to keep Kiwior. And we'll talk about Kiwior. I want all of your thoughts on Kiwior against Chelsea. Play Kiwior, Gabriel in the center, Kieran Tierney as your left central defender. Right, that's your back three. Your wing backs: White on right hand side, Zinchenko on the left. Takes the pressure off Zinchenko. You've got Kieran Tierney inside.
No,
of him.
okay, am I allowed to ask a question as you go along? I'll have to wait to the end.
Sure. Yeah. No
Okay.
question.
What makes you think that Ben White can play as a wing back when he's only barely just gone to a right back position and is managing that? A wing back is a very different beast.
It doesn't have to be very different. He can still do the things
You
he's
know,
been doing all
I
season.
would
just
say
play
that-
Saka as a. Why can't you play Saka as a wing?
I would
back?
say that's
No,
exactly.
we have the
I was going
players.
to say, why not have Xhaka and Trossard as your
Saka,
wing back?
you
And
play
Trossard.
Saka. Yeah, Saka. Let
Trossard's
Saka
played that
play a
position.
wing back, and that's what I
All
would
right.
do.
Um,
Oh, and I know you
sorry.
don't have Partey in there. You assuming he's not healthy or
White
something?
and Zinchenko. Then I think Partey. I wouldn't trust Partey at Newcastle. I didn't see anything about Partey that would help make me pick Partey. Jorginho in the middle. Okay. We need a creative outlet or Odegaard ahead of him. And then we got three players: Trossard, Jesus, and Saka for me.
Yeah.
So we're playing three at the back, two wing backs. The two wing backs can push in the midfield and help. Zinchenko and White. White doesn't have to be wing back, but he's going to go up and down the wing.
But
He's
he's
going to
going
go
to
into
play wing back.
midfield.
It's the same
Mm.
thing we're just talking about with Zinchenko, and he's not a left back. Now you're saying let's make White play as a wing back, but guess what? He's not a wing back, so he doesn't have to play like a wing back.
That's
He's
a
been
gamble.
playing like a wing back all
Gamble.
season.
It's a gamble for me.
I'd rather have Saka play there, just because I know he can play
Yeah,
there.
but you're gonna move one of our best players way back
What-
now.
Is Tavares a left back or a wing back?
Well,
He's a wing
Tony,
back, and he scores.
a wing.
And if
We've
that's
seen him
Saka,
play
he
in a
scores
flat
a lot
back
more.
four, but we've seen him play in a flat back four, and that he can't. That's not really him. It's a very different roles, isn't they?
Yeah. All right. So
In a way.
who wants to go? Who have you got a team in your head, Stan or Gary, that you can lay out?
Like I said, my wing back would be Saka instead of
White.
White or Zinchenko, whoever you want to pull out
But
of there.
then who are you removing? Who's going to play right wing for you then? Jesus, Trossard, Martinelli.
Yep.
Okay. Stan, what are your
I-
thoughts? You want to go flat back four, right?
Yeah, maybe the only change I'd be open to would be to have a double pivot, two in front of the back four, plays
Mhm.
Jorginho and Partey at the same time.
Yeah.
But other than maybe a tweak like that, I would probably stick with exactly the same formation that we've been doing. But I would have maybe Kieran Tierney as the left back.
Yep.
There's an argument for Jorginho or Partey because Partey hasn't been, playing well recently. But we're not seeing what he's doing in training to see, okay, looks, do you know what I mean? Based on the game, maybe there's a shout for
looks
Jorginho
knackered.
to get a start.
Partey looks knackered.
Did he actually come in against Chelsea, or
I think
Partey,
he
yeah.
came in.
he did
He
come
did
in?
come
I don't
in.
remember.
84 minutes. He didn't do
84
anything.
minutes, so he didn't really come in. He just came in to get a little sweat. So
Yeah, but
you couldn't have saw anything in 6 minutes that goes, all right, I think he's ready to start.
Gary, we've been looking at Partey the last 5 or 6
No,
games.
no. I'm talking about the 6 minutes because he didn't play. So maybe he's got less, tread on the tires kind of thing.
Would you risk Partey at Newcastle?
If he's healthy, yeah, then you play him, right? If he needed that time away, then you play him, right?
Isn't it a risk?
What's the risk? If he's If he's
Right.
healthy, he
But he
plays.
gets overrun in midfield. That's the risk.
See, I think this is where the manager needs
No.
to earn his money, because if the manager's watching training in between games, right, and you're looking at play like Thomas Partey, who's had a few games now on the bounce which haven't been up to snuff, and he's not looking at, that's when you've got to be brave and go, I'm not playing you today. You've not shown me in any way that you're back to the Thomas Partey that I want. So without that information, it's difficult, right?
Jorginho off the ball is worse than Partey. So to say that, Partey in there is an issue,
He's been a nightmare, though, isn't he? He has been a nightmare.
No, lately he was, and that's against Kevin De Bruyne. So Jorginho, who knows what that would have looked like? We had to do if the way we played against City, and Jorginho was asked to do that, I think it would have looked worse.
You needed a double pivot in midfield.
I get it. Well, if you're bringing both of them, then you have a little bit better support, right?
Yeah.
So if Partey's healthy, he plays.
Sorry, Stan.
Whether he plays with Jorginho or not is, depends
Let's
on how
call you
wanna set it up.
Tickle, Stan.
I just had visions of Jorginho playing against City, and then in the press conference, he retires from football. It's just like, no more.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his Achilles heel, right? He can't play off the ball, so like De Bruyne would have killed him.
Yeah.
Right. So Partey, if he's healthy, he plays, and that's why he plays, is because we don't have another answer right now.
All right, Tony, you've been away for a little bit. What do you think of my?
I went and tagged myself again.
What do you think of my back three here? Kiwior, Gabriel, Kieran Tierney.
Tell us what you really feel.
Is he frozen?
Say it, Tony.
Go ahead, tell him how you really feel.
I would still probably put White back in the center back spot.
Okay, are you playing wing backs too?
Yeah.
No, he said center backs.
Yeah, but
He
he's
would play as
playing
a center back.
He said he's playing three at the back as well. So who's your three at the back?
It'd be Tierney, Gabriel, and not Holding. Sorry,
I can't trust
White.
you. Sorry,
White.
You lost a little bit of your credibility of whatever you're gonna say next. You brought
I was busy tagging myself.
I know.
Kieran Tierney, Gabriel, and White. Who's your wing backs?
You got Zinchenko, of course, since he's gonna be going attacking.
Yeah.
And I would. Who do you put back there?
Saka, come on, just do
You
it. Say
don't
it.
know.
You put Saka there.
I would put Saka there.
I don't know where you came up with that idea. That's pretty cool how you came up with that.
Yeah. I remember when I used to play snooker, I had to put 50p in for the lights. Tony takes forever playing snooker. Line up your shot, Tony. Come on. Who are you playing in midfield? Single or double pivot?
Single, just Partey.
Okay. That gives you 4 spots.
Yep.
Who are you playing up front? And your cam?
You got Odegaard as cam.
Mm-hmm.
You got Trossard as the guy up front.
Okay. And your wings are Martinelli?
And Jesus.
Martinelli and Jesus. Okay. And you played Saka as your right wing back. Okay. All right. Well, listen, I think we've all demonstrated a little bit of security needed at the back for Newcastle. I think Stan is pretty happy to go with a back four, but have a double pivot in front. All of our thoughts are about being compact at the back because we know we can nick a goal going forward. I think only Liverpool have beaten Newcastle up at their place. That represents the size of the task at hand.
I told you weeks ago this was going to be a big game, and you laughed at me.
I never laugh at you. Never.
Yes, you did. you and Gary both did.
I'm actually looking forward to this game. I know it's going to be a big game. I know it's going to be a tough game. It's one that we need to win. Tony.
It wouldn't have been a big game if we'd done our business in the 3 games that we drew.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we did done the business, the 3 games we drew and were defeated at City, this probably is still
I just
would have been a big game. You know,
I hope the
Yep.
coaches had been showing the Newcastle game from last year, saying you guys can't come out flat with no passing like that.
Yeah,
Just
You see,
that game was a disgrace. It was horrible.
for me
Nobody
with this
should-
game. Sorry, Tony, I thought you'd
Mm.
finished. Please go on. Go
Said
on, I thought
nobody
you-
should have collected a check that week.
nobody gets paid last May at Newcastle. Stan?
I mean, I have a particular fondness for Newcastle, as you know,
Mhm.
for family ties.
Yep.
I mean, for me, with this fixture, I'm looking at it like the first, like Everton this season. You know, this season Newcastle were a team that managed to disrupt our play. Is
Yeah.
a way of putting it. They didn't
Yeah.
allow us to get into a rhythm. They found a way to unhinge us a little bit like their first Everton fixture. But then when we played Everton again, we've done a bit of homework and we absolutely battered them. So I'm hoping this is for me, this is another game which will show me what we've learned. We're playing this team again. How, you know, we mustn't let this team disrupt our play like last time.
Yeah.
Yes, they're going to have a bit of a different lineup because they had some people missing, but I want to see how we react against a team that sort of like was a bit of a foible for us earlier in the season.
It's going to be a different task because playing at home, they disrupted us. Now we have to go to their place, a place that's been very difficult for many teams to win up there. Only Liverpool, as I said, have won up there. That team were beaten, 6-1, 7-1. City drew 3-3 earlier in the season. I believe United were beaten. So this Newcastle team is the real deal.
Well on the road as well, you know. You have to remember we have done pretty well on the road.
Yeah. And we really need to delve in at some point to our home form and all the goals we've been losing at home. So much more is different to our away form. Ramsdale, Stephen says Ramsdale, White, Kiwior, Gabriel, Zinchenko. So that's a back four right there. Partey, Jorginho, a double pivot. Odegaard is the 10. Then Martinelli, Jesus, and Trossard. And Xhaka is going to sit on the bench. And Greenwich.
What's the point of a double pivot when you got three guys stuck at the back?
It's not 3 at the back. It's 4.
Forward to back there.
No, I'm saying in your back three, you have a double pivot.
Yeah.
So why do you need a double pivot?
Because we're going to a very difficult place at Newcastle. You have to sometimes recognize the opposition's strengths and try to counteract them. Double pivot is you want one midfielder going against their midfield pretty much. You know, we don't want Granit Xhaka playing too. If Granit Xhaka is going to play, we all probably know Granit Xhaka is going to get picked, right? We don't want him playing ahead of Partey or Jorginho too much, like what happened with City, you know, and we'll have their midfield going through us. We have to be a little bit more solid in midfield, in my opinion, Tony.
Well, that's where we've struggled this year. And
Can I just say
4 or 5 years? But yeah.
Yes, Dan.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. I can't believe these words are going to leave my mouth. I just find it really difficult at the moment to leave Xhaka out. He brings something to this team.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd ever say that, but I mean, he
No.
seems to be, for me, he seems to be an important component in this team.
Listen, if Granit Xhaka is deployed in the right place on Sunday and he keeps his head, doesn't pick up a yellow or 2 yellows or a red card, he could be the kind of player we're going to need at Newcastle, you know, to dig in and help us get a result.
Yeah, but
much
if you're
as-
playing,
How do we beat
two-
a midfield of Willock, Gourmares, and Joe Linton?
By being compact.
No, but what mid? You know, how are we going to beat them? Like, which players are going to help us control the midfield? If those are the players you're going up against.
I would like a double pivot. I know it may not happen. I'd like a double pivot in there. I'm going to throw Jorginho has to play there for me anyway. You know, but yeah, it's going to be difficult, and we're going to have to play through the press.
it's going to be really important that we do not turn the ball over in stupid places. When you make your pass, the pass has to get to an Arsenal player. You know, make the right passes.
That's one reason. That's one reason to have Jorginho, because the ball at his feet is pretty. It's probably going to get where it needs to go in most cases.
Yeah.
Party can break lines with passes as well, and that's what we're going to need to do, is be able to break lines and have players ready to get into those spaces.
Listen, we need to see one of two things. Either we play with 3 at the back with wing backs and a single pivot, or we play 4 at the back with a double pivot in front of the defenders. You know, there's got to be some kind of combination there in midfield to be able to counteract the players that are going to be running at us. Just imagine Newcastle and imagine the speed that they play at up there, and that crowd behind them as well. Tony knows the elevation of noise there, Tony, and we're gonna have to keep it quiet up there. We're gonna have to play ball, find passes, and hold on to the ball.
Yeah, we definitely have to hold on to it, but we can't just hold on to it and not shoot, just pass it around and have no momentum with it. Because we've done that lots of games. We've had like 72% possession and end up losing a game. How you do that, but you got to attack.
We're a lot better now at holding on to possession of the ball. Last season, we were at 53% possession. This season, we're at 60.5%. So we've gotten better.
I'm saying their games this season.
Averages through the season, our possession stats have been better.
Less than a month ago, we had 72%. Drew a game or lost a game.
Were we generally happy with Tony, Stan, Gary? Were we generally happy with Kiwior's play? And does he deserve a start at Newcastle? Or is it just the alternative is unthinkable?
Anybody can play over Rob Holding.
Yeah. But what did you think? I thought Kiwior had a pretty decent game against Chelsea. It's Chelsea. They didn't play really well. They're a really, really poor team. And the levels are going to have to go up at Newcastle.
Yeah, I still haven't had a chance to watch it yet. But
this guy's an international. He's a Polish international player.
I saw. Like he looked good, but as you say, is Chelsea a good barometer of whether or not he's going to be able to hold up to what he's going to see at Newcastle? Right. I mean, that's going to be the problem.
You can't spend that much money on a center back in the winter and not playing. And play Rob Holding instead.
Agreed.
We did it. So yes, you can. I mean, everything you're saying makes sense, but it doesn't mean anything.
I'm saying logically, Gary.
Yeah, no, I'm saying. So I'm going by. We're going by what we're looking at right now.
You're going by Lego binary.
Yeah, we'll go by what I see. And
listen, Lego binary's got you in this position in the league as well. You know what I mean? Everybody's in this together, Tony.
Zinchenko and Gabriel's leadership got us.
Super Mick has got you there into a position now. Traditionally, Liverpool have been sitting in this position. We're sitting here now in the league, and we got to chase City down. Whatever happens at Leeds, against Leeds, we have to go to Newcastle and maintain the pressure on City because we cannot drop any more points. And I think this game's going to be good because Newcastle need to win the game as well for their top 4 hopes. They want to seal. They would take a draw. And maybe the mentality of that might help us. You know what I mean? Do you think that they're going to think mentally, Stan, that they may want to just take a point against Arsenal in this game? You think they're going to go for it?
I've been really impressed with Eddie Howe at Newcastle because it also looks like that he's improving players that are under him. While he's been there, I've seen players that seem like they're improving, and that's always a good asset to have. They're doing very well, and you know, I'm sure that European competition is exactly what they want. You know, they're the most expensive, not the most expensive, the most financially stable football club in the world now, aren't they? But they haven't gone out and done what Chelsea do and go splash, 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 splash. They've made some little buys here and there, some good ones, and Eddie Howe's got them playing as a team. You know, the owners haven't gone in there and just like overwhelmed him. It looks like they've allowed Eddie Howe to be steering the ship and tell us whatever you need, Eddie, and we'll help you out. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It seems like
they
a
got
good business-
400.
a very good
They
business
got
model.
400 billion in the bank, so they can do.
They've scored.
Well,
They've scored. They've
you know,
scored
400
13
billion.
goals. They scored 13 goals
What?
in the last 3 games, and 9 in the last 2
Yeah.
at home. The
That
last thing they're
Saudi
thinking
fund's
about doing
Wow.
is
400 billion.
playing a defensive game against an Arsenal team whose defense is leaky at best. Right?
Suspect. Yeah.
Now, that last time we played them
Right.
as well, they had a lot of key players out, didn't they? I think St. Maxim was out, Isaac was out.
Yep.
They played a different way away from home, and they snatched a point. I don't think they're going to
Yeah.
play the same way this time, though.
Nope.
They're like they've got a big bounce under. You know, I mean, they're feeling it. They're in good spirits. They want to play football.
Tony.
You can't forget that they have 80% of the wealth in the league.
That has
That's
nothing
from
to
their
do
owners.
about this game this weekend. They're not even using it.
Their
Their wealth is. We're not going to have to duck.
having a conversation
We're not going to have
with
to
Ray.
duck $1,000 bills as they come flying through. That's not happening. So the money means absolutely nothing right
I
now.
was having a discussion with Raymond.
Raymond is not listening to that nonsense. I'm sorry.
Well, it's like me and Gary just ain't here now.
I know. I'm having. So Stan, tell me about the weather. How's it up there in
Gary.
Vancouver?
Oh, those two are
Hey.
talking over there.
It's okay to go one-on-one at times. You know what I mean? Tony was having a discussion with me. Okay, Gary. And
Okay,
Stan.
sorry.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So listen. Any other points about the Newcastle game? Arsenal. I wonder if the mentality of
Tony.
is it,
Mr. Tony.
Huh?
Are you talking to us? Is your conversation still continuing? You know?
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt.
I said 4 weeks ago, you laughed at me saying this would
you
be a
off-
pivotal
why
game.
you
4
always-
weeks ago, we hadn't even played Liverpool yet.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
maybe we
still
had-
fucking
He's not
laughed
talking
at
to
me.
us,
saying
Gary.
it
He's
was a
talking
big
to
game.
Ray.
Oh, sorry.
Tony, can't you just say I said 3 weeks ago? Do you have to caveat with you laughed at me?
Yes.
We laugh at you all the time.
I had to
Tony.
set the scene.
Tony,
Yeah,
we
you
laugh
laughed
at you all
about
the time. When's the last
Shh,
time
I'm really
you
glad
said
that Tony's talking to her. I like this. Shh. Continue, Tony.
But do you know what happened? What happened last year, Ray? What happened?
This is
What
the
happened in
guy.
July?
This is the guy who
last
told
August?
you Saliba would never play for Arsenal. You know.
He wanted the fucking right back goes there.
So this is the guy who wanted to pick Holding.
He's the only
in-
right
in this
back
game.
that we had.
Well,
You
this is the
forgot.
guy,
You forgot Ben White.
Maitland Niles was our MVP on our FA Cup run. So
If
you got-
Tony's a manager, he'd look at Ben White and say, "Rob, you're starting."
Do you know what you laughed at me this summer for, Ray?
Rob Holding, you're
remember?
starting. What?
Do you remember
What's that?
me saying that Granit Xhaka would have more than 10 starts?
Yeah, I remember that.
And another point about this game, we could have had Bruno last winter. but we
Oh,
didn't go for him.
stop! It's okay to go one-on-one at times. Was it Vince McMahon or Ray that said that? Interesting. Interesting.
One-on-ones are much cheaper than tag team matches. So
Now we're all triple threat matches.
So looking at the table here, Newcastle are 6 points clear of 5th place. I'm just wondering if there is a situation in this game where they may settle and hope to get a draw from this game. Now, everything we've seen about Newcastle in recent games tell us that will not happen. They will come out flying out of the blocks and trying to get 3 points against us. Mr. Tom said, Tony asking cryptic questions where he expects people to read his mind. You all laughed at me. You're not laughing now, are you? Tony's got Nigel Farage. But you've got some credibility issues, Tony, when you said
No,
Saliba
I
would
know.
never play for Arsenal.
He wasn't going to, Ray.
Any other points on Newcastle
They
Arsenal
even set a
game?
price point on him. They set it at 27 million.
Arsenal just has to get that win however they can, and the easiest and the best way they can using the players they got. They have the players to get it done. Whether they use them the right way or give them the right instructions, we shall see. They have to come in the right mindset. I think that's another part of this thing. You know, do they feel good about the way they played against Chelsea? Or do they think they can do a lot better? Hopefully, they think they can do a lot better.
This will be Newcastle's first hard game since Villa almost 5 weeks ago now.
Okay, so the win against Chelsea brings us our 24th win of the season. We got 4 games remaining. Hopefully, we can finish this thing out and get the remaining 12 points on the board. Got to keep believing that weird things may happen, even though we look at City grinding out wins. West Ham. I'm not going to complain about West Ham not fielding Declan Rice. That's their prerogative. They have a season to go and try and win things as well. And we're in a situation where we're relying on other teams. Hopefully, Brighton are still involved. I told all of you to be Brighton fans in these weeks, so except when we play them, of course. We want them involved, trying to push up into the European spots, and they beat Manchester United with a last-minute penalty today. So,
which is scary because we have to play them.
We have to play them at home. Yes,
still have to
it
play
is
them.
scary.
Man City have to play them as well, right?
It is scary. Man City have to play them as well.
So everybody, we have to beat the teams first before City does.
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
can you explain your banner down there and
Sure.
Brighton
what your original starting total?
My
was?
original starting position was 75 points, Tony. As you know, we have. Why are you laughing? Because I think at the beginning of this season you said something similar, right? In terms of your predictions, I think most of us
Did Tony submit his
That's a
predictions
load.
on time, or did he submit them like 10 games in?
at the time.
Okay. Check.
Whoa! Shots fired, Tony. Shots fired. Tony will never answer such tough
Allegations.
questions. Yeah, allegations. He has a lawyer.
You know what I mean? The evidence,
who
the
got the
evidence
first
in my
one
folder,
retainer?
Who got the
notwithstanding.
first pick in this week, Ray?
What, Tony?
Who got my first pick in this week?
You actually, is that what you said? Yeah. Okay, you did. It's been one hell of a season. Okay, last minute, 99 minutes, same thing. Okay. Yeah, last minute, 99 minutes. Notwithstanding, Brighton got 3 points today, 78 points, Tony. So we're aiming for 90. We're 86.66% there. And we need those extra 4 wins. We get 4 wins, that'll be more wins than the Invincibles had.
Yeah.
And 20.
I really
they've
think
had
Brighton
26
could play a
games.
part in how this season pans out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? They're playing the 2 teams that are battling,
And Chelsea.
and they're playing so well. Brighton.
Yep.
The way they do their transfer business, they sort of like, they're the team that will find a McAllister from a River Plate. Do you know what I mean? It's other teams that come in and take that player. Man United wouldn't do that. Do you know what I mean? But do you see what I'm getting at with the way that they do it? They get players that go to the team before they go to the team.
Mm-hmm.
They do really well out of it. They raise the profile of that player, make good money, and they continually are bringing these people in. I mean, it sounds to me that if you want to be successful, you just got to take their coaching staff somehow, take the whole of them as one kit and caboodle team, and get them to just, because they really are good at finding these players.
Yeah. We have
Cops after you, Stan.
This Arsenal like 300 Spartans. Gary, so the managers that sit in front of City, as we're talking about here. Sam Allardyce, newly installed manager of Leeds. Listen, if he gets him out of trouble, he'll stay in the Premier League.
No one will
He'll have
ever
done his
beat his
job.
England record. No one is
Yeah.
beating his England record. 100%. That will never get beaten.
What do you have? One game?
One game, one win. That's
One game,
good
one
shit.
win.
Yeah.
Can't say fairer than that. Sean,
As if Leeds didn't need it. They don't need this type of attention. But their manager coming out with the schedule that they have to play against pretty much teams that are battling for top spots in the league. You put a bullseye on their back essentially, or in their front as well. It's going to be tough. I mean, we've seen crazy things, and he's done some amazing things, right, with teams. So maybe, but that's going to be it's a big stretch. So
we've
He'll get
City-
2 million, right? He'll get a 2 million if he keeps him out. Apparently, on top of whatever he's being paid, he's got they'll give him 2 million for keeping him out. That's what I was hearing. Not bad, is it? 4 games.
If he's smart, I'll take $1 million and I'll split it with you guys.
so say between City and their title is standing Sam Allardyce, Sean Dyche at Everton. He's another one they got to go to. They got to go to Goodison Park. De Zerbi.
Apparently, in Leeds at the moment, you can't find like a stick of chewing gum in any sweet shop. They've all just gone. I don't know why. Shortage apparently.
So we got Sam Allardyce chewing gum. We got what is it with Sean Dyche again? Frida Rolos.
Opal fruits.
Opal fruits. Yep, there you go.
Like opal fruits, isn't he?
Sean Dyche with his opal fruits. Everton won't be easy for City to go to as well. De Zerbi's having
at least the teams are getting worse, right? Go from City down to Newcastle, down to West Ham, down to that team.
Yeah.
So the teams are getting worse. They're going to hit the top of the mountain on the weekend, but then it gets easier after that.
We want Leeds to get out of the relegation trouble, but they're going to be motivated to do something at City and give it their all against Man City at the weekend.
Or you think about it, they come back from 2 down in the last game of the season against that team to keep them up.
Yeah.
So that's talk about a script.
Leeds against Tottenham, yeah. City have to go to Everton against Sean Dyche. De Zerbi for Brighton, he's had a great season. I think arguably he's taken Brighton on from Graham Potter and done better things with that team.
For sure.
De Zerbi's probably could be he's not going to get manager of the year, but he would.
No.
He's done such a good job there. Thomas Frank is going to play City at the end of the season, the last game of the season. Brentford. That's going to be a tricky one for City to go away from home to. And then we got Frank Lampard. We don't expect much, Frank. But you have one job now, Frank Lampard. Beat City at their place. Not bloody likely, right? Aubameyang was useless. Aubameyang was pretty bad last night. So yeah,
I remember when people were crying and got rid of him.
Maybe now, then he'll go to MLS, then he'll finally retire.
Mm-hmm. He'll go to MLS and retire.
Remember that though, when people were crying when Aubameyang left. The Arsenal is much bigger than all of it. Do you know what I mean? Players will come and go.
I think it was like the circumstances of him leaving as well. He was almost at the pearly gates of Barcelona before anyone knew where he was. You know,
did us a favour. He did us a favour. People go, "It's out of order doing that." You know, he did us he engineered his move and got himself away, and that's helped us. That helped us as far as I'm concerned. Well played. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Even if he didn't go, he wasn't practicing with the squad anyway, so he wasn't going to be playing. So, they kept him separated. So I kind of feel like,
but all that dough, innit? All that dough every week, cashing his check, and he's like, going to buy another Porsche.
Oh, I have no doubt Arsenal paid. It was a
Lamborghini.
It was a good deal for Barcelona. They didn't pay as much as they should have. So.
He looked. Not that I'm in his corner, but he looked quite forlorn yesterday. You know what I mean?
Apparently, he had 8 touches, and 4 of those were from kickoffs. That's like, how much are they paying him a week?
Yeah. Todd Bowley. When
Todd Bowley
Frank
wants to be the player
Lampard.
manager, he wants to be the player manager and captain as well.
Mhm.
That's
When
what it
Frank
is.
Lampard came in, I think I asked Tom at the time, how far do you think Frank Lampard's going to take Chelsea down? Not up. When you're a caretaker manager, you're trying to make them go up the table. How far do we think Frank Lampard's going to take them down? Probably 14th place at the end of the day for me,
I mean, nice.
for Chelsea.
It's mathematically possible that they could get relegated.
It is, but they have, I think they're like 9 points clear. So probably they're going to be okay. We should have gotten rid of Aubameyang in the summer
Not
before we
according to
got rid of
math.
him. He was a cancer to the club like Ozil.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way Leeds is catching them. So Leeds has to win 3 out of 4 matches just to catch them on points, and that's not happening. And I don't think anybody thinks that's going to happen. So there's no way Chelsea's going down. I mean,
Unfortunately, they're gonna
Hope.
finish 13th or 14th in the league.
Stan, do you
Right
think
now,
Rohan,
it's mathematically possible. I'm backing math.
Stan, do you think Rohan still has his Aubameyang duvet covers?
I doubt it.
He's probably packed them in quite a bit. You know what I mean? Packed them in quite a bit. Okay. You guys want to, I'm going to step out for a second, but do you guys want to talk about the trend of 2 strikers up top? Because I think we saw this with Pep.
Of course, me and Stan do. We've been calling for it for since we've been on this show. I think.
Do you think Odegaard and Gabriel Jesus could be that pairing right now in this team?
It'd be Trossard for me.
We'll be right back.
You want to start?
There's a variety of players in it, and one of the reasons why I don't want us to sell Balogun without him getting an opportunity to play in an Arsenal shirt is that if, as I believe, at some point things are gradually moving back to a 2 up front, and I love that. I've always loved a formation of 2 strikers, and I see a lot of teams are playing it now. Man City did it against us with Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland playing as a 2. So, you know, if you're going to start moving in that way, you need to have more strikers at your club.
they just did that because we sucked on the day.
But there's a lot of clubs that are doing that now. It's not the first time that they've done it either. And if you're going to play with 2 strikers, you're going to need more strikers at your club because they will pick up more bookings and injuries just by where they play on the pitch. So this is one of the reasons why I'm like, you know, if we've got a striker in Balogun that could maybe be a part of that, it solves the problem. I mean, why would you sell Balogun for 30 or 40
funny
million?
how many
And
people want to sell.
and then go and buy, which I've seen us linked with another striker from the same league, around the same age. That makes no sense at all. So we're going to sell this guy who we know, who we put through all the work in, and we know him, and he's got putting up good numbers, you know, abroad now, like Saliba was doing. And before we give him a chance at Arsenal, we'll sell him and we'll buy another guy that we don't really know that much about from the same league and he's the same age. I don't get that. Why would you not try your man first before making that decision? Sorry, Ton?
Said probably be a flop like Pepe if we go and get another striker instead of just bringing Balogun back.
But yeah, I would love us to go to. I'm really happy if that's going to come back. There's a lot of different formations that you can play with 2 up the front, and it was very successful with us. With, you know, Henry and Bergkamp. You know, you have that one that's slightly deeper. You don't have to have them 2 playing directly up front together. You can have one playing slightly deeper. I'd relish that to come back.
Ours was more of a 4-4-1-1, but
yeah, it's flexible.
Would it benefit Gabriel Jesus? He's got 10 goals in a segmented season. Odegaard scoring more goals. Push Odegaard closer to Gabriel Jesus. you're bound to boost Jesus' goal tally. They could play off
You
each other a
push-
little bit more.
But why don't you push Trossard up there instead?
He could do that as well. Yeah,
Or
I think
Ball-
Trossard could definitely
or
play that
Balogun
game
if we bring him
as
back.
well.
And
I'd
yeah,
like
to
to
be fair, I
see-
think Brentford play with two, don't they? Quite a lot. Brentford,
We just
But
need them to beat
Stan,
City.
Do you
Yeah.
think we would ever be at a
Aston
point
Villa. Sorry, Tone.
entering a season with just two strikers? Would you ever guess in your life we
No.
would just have two
No.
strikers?
Well, we would have to get two
No.
decent strikers right now.
We
you know, you got
always have 4 or 5 strikers. You didn't
Yeah.
have 2.
sell Eddie, Balogun, and Xhaka, and that could cover the price of a proven striker. Does Balogun really want to come back? I think Balogun should come back, but I can also see the theory of
Balogun's always wanted to play here, so it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah, we should be
giving
looking at him.
a
Surely he should
chance.
get a chance before we make a decision. Can't we? You know, can't we edge our bets? Look first, and then we don't have to sell immediately. What's the rush? I mean, there's money.
I think a
see
lot
him.
of it. I think a lot of this is going to come down to how much money we're going to be able to generate through the summer, and Declan Rice got to be the first purchase for me in the summer window of real consequence. You
I
know?
quite like
Should have been.
Caicedo.
It should have been done already. One of the two. I don't care. It should have been done already. If people
Well-
are closing deals right now on top players,
Bellingham.
that's our primary target is Rice.
Yeah.
It should be done already. Like
Yeah.
it should be like closer to done than we're just talking about it right now because it won't, or the season won't. You know, we won't know how we're going to go until that Rice or Caicedo deal gets closed.
Yep.
And that has to be the first one, or else what's the point of doing the other ones?
I
Yeah,
understand that's your wish, Gary.
No, but it's the primary target. It's the only one that's the
Sure.
first thing that
But
matters.
West Ham, we're not going to open up the doors and let him walk away without
he wants to
negotiating.
leave. Yes, you're going to negotiate. How are teams in the situation they are now, where they are close to being done? They are talking to the teams. He doesn't want to be there,
There's
right? He
free
wants to
agents
leave.
out there. They can
Mhm.
sign pre-contracts. We can announce, right?
Yeah, and listen, I think there's been some news about him all through the season. You didn't want to hear about it all through the season either. You know what I mean? But I think there's been a lot of contact between Arsenal and Declan Rice. The paper's going to try and whip up things like Liverpool are in, Man City are in, Newcastle are in, Man United are in.
They all need midfielders. I mean, that's been everybody's problem, especially Liverpool.
Can you
Mhm.
name the last 2 players that we announced before the end of the season?
No, can
I
you?
did hear this question. I don't know. I forget the answer, but it's. I believe it's
Trick
been a
question,
while.
Tony.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
It would be Granit Xhaka. And
Yes.
Who else?
I don't know.
He was a bodyguard for Ozil.
Mustafi.
Kolasinac.
Oh,
Kolasinac. Yeah. Okay. So that's playing 2 up top.
7 years ago.
I think it's something that could trend playing 2 up top. The other thing,
Should have never went away.
couple of other things to talk about. Selling within the Premier League, Gary. I think it's got to be it's a trend now. The teams sell within the Premier League. You know, we're looking at Kieran Tierney. If he's going to leave, if he wants to leave, he's probably going to go to Newcastle or City. We can't be afraid to sell players to other
Yeah, we
Premier League
can.
teams.
if you're not going to play them, you should sell them to somebody who's going to spend a lot of money on them.
That's where the money is in the Premier League, right?
I
I mean,
So,
City
Five,
sold what?
short-
City sold 3 players for over 100 mil, right?
mhm.
And they got
short drive
that's-
from Newcastle to
a
Glasgow. as well.
striker. So yeah.
Short drive from Newcastle to Scotland. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go and
Yeah,
see his mammy. Go and see his mammy at the
yeah.
weekend or during the week, whatever.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a scenario where Kieran Tierney stays till next season or through next season?
Unless Arteta lies to him, I don't see him staying.
Tell us about
when
that,
he
Gary.
comes
What does
on-
he say? Hang on, I want to know more
I
about
mean,
the lie. What does he say?
Typical of Kieran
Tell me.
Tierney. Typical of Kieran Tierney, he does put
No,
all of his effort in. When he comes on, he plays.
I've always
He
seen him as
plays
special
hard for
guy.
us when he does come on.
And he plays in the way that Arteta wants. He plays like Zinchenko does because that's what he wants.
He looks like a what do they call it? A fish out of water, playing like Zinchenko. It's just why? Why would you do that?
It's not natural for him.
That's like saying I want Nketiah to play like Jesus. Guess what? He can't do it. So why bother? It's the same
For me,
thing
though,
you're
it just
asking,
sounds
you're
like
asking Tierney.
it just sounds like forget all your defensive duties, Kieran. Just wander off into midfield. The rest will manage. Don't worry about the big hole you're leaving behind. So
Gabriel Magalhaes, he'll be fine back there.
That's what's
Covering
bad
that
about
left
this.
side.
call him mega legs for a reason, Kieran. Don't worry about it. He'll be good.
That's the problem with this year because it's just been two guys back there. When we switched from attack to defense, so there's just two guys back there, and
That's why it's so
Gabriel
important. That's why it's so important that when we do something like that, that our offense doesn't like lose the ball in midfield and create a situation where next thing you know, they're running at our defense with like a head of steam. I mean, and that's why a lot of times it's like, why did we just pull up and not continue upfield with our attack? You know, we just give the defense a little bit of time to chase us down.
Welcome, Bargov, to the show.
It's just weird seeing 7 guys in attack and 2 guys holding up the back. Because last year, at least players would go back to cover that empty slot, but now it's hardly ever happens. Sometimes White will drop back there and make a 3, but for the most part,
are we gonna end the season with a good 5-game run, a winning?
We need to. That's what we need to. After the 4-game stretch that we had, we need to finish this thing up right.
Yeah, I think the key is this Newcastle game.
Each one of them are. The next game is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And this time it's Newcastle for sure. Yeah. But if we, I think as somebody said before, both times we had these 4-game stretches where we didn't win a match, it all ended with City. So, and I think that's because to some degree the team or Arteta looking ahead to a City match and forgetting what was right in front of them. So when we just play the next game. We got to win. You got to beat Newcastle, kind of, by any means necessary. Essentially,
it's going to hurt to look back at those games before City, but I do believe our players got a little bit jittery leading up to the City game, and within the performances, we made critical mistakes individually at the back, especially. So hopefully they take that into next season, but we're fighting to get 12 points still this season. Do
you think if we played them last year like we were supposed to, instead of having a game moved because of the Queen?
Yes.
Do you think we would have won the league?
I think it would have been. You're saying if the City game had not been rearranged in October or November, whatever it was. Yeah, I think we should have probably played. Would have been better to play them now. Yeah.
Because
this is like the second season?
But we had to change the Europa game because none of the UEFA wouldn't allow it. So.
It's like the second season in a row where if we would have played this team early in the season like we were supposed to, maybe things would have turned differently for us. So we are kind of getting screwed by these.
We haven't
rescheduling of games.
This Newcastle game's given me a little bit of PTSD from last season. We're going into it somewhat with injuries hanging over our head. I think we're in much better shape than we were last season, and I think we're equipped to go and fight there. Who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be a good game. We shouldn't be afraid to be able to sell players within the Premier League as well, and players like Pablo Mari are going to get sold. Tavares, Pepe's got to be dealt with. Lokonga, there's a few other players.
But those are the people.
I think Lokonga's they're winning back, don't they?
5 years we've done nothing with. Just sell them.
Yeah.
They want to keep Lokonga and maybe send him on loan again. I think I was reading something.
What's the point of that? It makes no sense.
They like
it. Makes no sense. Yeah. No, I was just talking about the rescheduled games last season. We played that team late in the season. It was It was match day 22, and we played it right before the 37th game.
I remember almost every Arsenal fan wanted it canceled and moved. I didn't. I wanted to play it. When we
Tony.
freaking lied.
Of course you did. The whole world was
When we
going this way,
lied.
and Tony was like that.
We
Tony's got
lied.
flags. He's
I'm
got
going that way.
flags everywhere in the season. Where
No,
You're
no, he
right,
definitely,
Tony.
he
You're
definitely,
right, you
definitely,
did.
he definitely wanted to play that match.
Oh,
he did.
but that still pisses me off. We say, "Oh, we have guys at AFCON." Well, you fucking knew it for 2 years, and then you were at AFCON. You know where the players
Planning.
are from Africa.
Yeah.
How do you use that as an excuse? You got one guy with COVID, one injury, one guy with COVID, then the rest in Africa.
Say we win the title by miracle, would there still be doubts with Arteta? I mean, if we win the title, there wouldn't be. But I believe Arteta's going to learn. And these are harsh lessons that he's learned.
You said that last year, and he hasn't learned.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
where
gonna
are we?
say
Where
that.
are we now?
What has he gotten better
We're
at?
still doing the
Rich?
same mistakes we did last year with our substitutions. Nothing's
What's he
changed
better
there.
at?
Let me address Tony first, right? Do you think finishing 8th twice and then finishing 5th represents learning and progress?
How bad were those teams? In 5th?
Furthermore, do you think finishing 2nd, if it's going to be 2nd after a 5th place finish, is learning and progression?
Look at the teams below us.
Yeah, the teams we've jumped over.
No.
Right.
But teams from 5th down, right? You know what I'm talking about.
Mr. Tom's comment.
Tom's comment. Didn't have Tony versus Africa on my Arsenal fan circle. Bingo card.
Wakanda forever.
I'm not mad at that. Mad at Africa.
I love
I'm
that
mad-
bingo card idea.
Arsenal.
That's great.
I just hate how Arsenal used that as a fucking excuse. They wrote it in there. We have players at AFCON. You knew they were going there. Did you know we had AFCON coming up, Ray?
Yeah. And I think we
Gary,
have one
did
coming
you know
up
we
pretty
had
quick
AFCON?
again. Yeah.
Stan, did you know we had AFCON?
What's AFCON? Of course.
African Cup of Nations.
It's a pain.
Yeah, definitely. There's learning curves, and Arteta's needs to learn to trust these players. There's the whole point of the title of this show. Trust your
But he
January
hasn't learned
signings.
yet.
Trust Trossard, trust Jorginho, trust Kiwior, and you're gonna have to go with these players on Sunday again to get a result. I don't think Arteta's improved that much, but the players are better and have masked Arteta's issues.
Hang on, but the players are better because of Arteta and the way that he
That
gets
is also true. Yeah.
I just think, I mean, in the respect to that comment, I think it's when I say sometimes that a manager needs to overachieve, he doesn't get to do that because he never puts enough trust into his team where he can actually, get those wins when he's not supposed to, when he's struggling. And that's, I think those are wasted opportunities, just like sitters are missed,
We
you
all
get them over
agree.
and over again. So I think that's where Arteta is missing his opportunities to grow and learning from the past.
I can understand where you've been off a cup competitions because you're going for a league for the first time in 19 years.
But he's not.
I don't
Ray.
think he's bidding them up. I don't think he's planning. He's not setting his team up to win any of them, which I think is I think that's really bad for the team in general, in the sense that
It's
those
not the
players
same thing as bidding them off,
Right.
Tony.
Ray.
Yep.
When you play 10 of your starters during the game, how is that a weak team?
You play them not together, right? You play 45 minutes.
Yeah, but then they're joining up with the other starters. They're not pulling starters out.
Listen, I think he did not prioritize the FA Cup. He did not prioritize the Europa League.
I think he
He,
did.
he prioritized the Premier League. Yeah, but
I
the point is, next season, Arteta is going to have to learn to juggle 4 competitions, and he's got to learn through this season.
look
Why
how
didn't
many.
why didn't he do it when he had a chance to do it this year? What's the difference?
I just told you because we had an outstanding chance to win the league,
When you have
fir-
Xhaka and Gabriel
right?
starting
We
in
lost to
those tough
Brighton or whenever
competitions,
the first cup we got knocked out of. We were said, you know what, we're gonna win the league, so let's not even bother trying to win anything else.
I think as I said before, I think part of that is you put 11 players out on the field, and those players have to play to a certain level. You expect players, you can't. The manager just has to give you a chance to play, but then when you get on the field, you have to take your chance. You know, and those players against Brighton didn't take their chance, in my
but
opinion.
soccer's about rhythm, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
they're not
You haven't
playing,
played for a while. I just think that's. I mean, we talk about this all the damn time. When the players don't play and then they were asked to perform all of a sudden, and we don't see it, it's because they don't play. You don't rotate them. It just.
This is true, Stan. We brought in better players, Jesus, Saliba, Zinchenko, Trossard, but we also got more out of Bukayo Saka. The patterns of play we got out of Martinelli step forward this season as well. Odegaard,
But they're all related, right?
how?
Some of it's the player improved, some of it's the team is improved with the additions that we have. I mean,
And
Saliba
some was
playing
the
out. If we're
manager.
going to play out from the back and the way Saliba was playing out from the back, I mean, that's why when Holding comes in there, our play out of the back is not as potent anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So Saliba makes it easier for our attack to look much better, and that's why Holding is an issue for us when we. That's why our offense looks not as potent.
I think the best way to look at this is look at Chelsea. They have players who, if you put a decent manager in there, they're going to get better results. Okay. Chelsea are just not a mid-table team. They should be, at worst, Chelsea should be 8th place, 7th or 8th place. They should be where Brighton or Brentford are right now. You know,
shouldn't they be in the top 4 with all the money they spent?
but spending money doesn't always translate to being in the position. You
Look
know,
how many
if it was
freaking attackers they have, right?
the players did benefit from new players as well, and they benefited from a pattern of play that was instituted as well by the management. You know, and that's my opinion anyway. You know, I think it all happens together. All of the ingredients come together. You know.
But if we didn't bring in Jesus or Zinchenko, you think we'd look the same?
Jesus and Zinchenko have definitely raised our levels, for sure. Right? I think Zinchenko has been instrumental in telling a lot of players we shouldn't be just going for top 4 here.
Well, it's the telling, but it's also just the play. I think so the issues we have with Zinchenko defensively are not what Arteta is as much concerned about, right? It's the pushing the ball up the pitch is what he's really happy about.
Yeah, listen,
more based on what we see.
I've struggled with that one. I've been trying to say to be progressive. To win 30 games, you have to do this, but I think there's certain parts of the season. You go away to the Etihad, you play at Anfield. You have to be a little bit more pragmatic. And Kieran Tierney should have gotten more of a look in at left back.
And this is this is similar situation. Similar. I don't think it's exactly the same as like Trent Alexander-Arnold. Anybody will say, with the ball at his feet, putting the ball across in, he's one of the best out there on his day.
Yep.
But going back on defense, not so good.
Not so good. Yeah.
Right. And in not having a strong midfield in front of him makes it even worse. And he's put out to dry a little bit. Right. A slower Van Dijk and all this stuff around him, and it doesn't look as good as it has.
There was a couple of
similar. It's a similar thing for Zinchenko.
Mm-hmm.
We've just been a lot more consistent in front of him. So,
yeah, I think, and Liverpool fans wanted Zinchenko or Trent out of the team because he's sleepwalking in some Champions League games earlier in the season. He hasn't had a great season. Trent Alexander-Arnold has not had a great season defensively, but he's been moved into midfield now, playing really well. Okay, want to get to a final point, and then we'll get out of here. It's about the 5 phases of Arteta, right? Is this a genius masterstroke, Stan? Mikel Arteta? He talks to the management, he gets the job, but he tells them, okay, there's going to be 5 phases here.
Yeah, but we've never been told what the phases are.
I know. But isn't it
we just
like...
know that we just know that we're ahead of schedule, right? But we don't know what the schedule was.
Well, you tell Josh Kroenke there's 5 phases, so he's going to stick with you for 5 phases.
Maybe he knows what the phases are. Maybe he's privy to that information.
Gary's shaking his head.
Just thought it nuts.
It's all right saying
Just nonsense stuff.
It's all right saying we're ahead of schedule, but if I don't know what the schedule is, I mean, you know.
Gary, you just started a new job. So your new job, you say, hold on, management, don't sack me. I have 5 stages of my development to go through. And I'm at stage 2 right now. I think it's a masterstroke from Arteta, honestly.
I think it's
he has laid out, he's probably laid out to the ownership exactly what needed to happen. And he's seen it somewhat through Pep as well.
He did not see Emile Smith-Rowe was going to be the lightning rod which started this whole resurgence. He did not
Emile Smith-Rowe is not one of the phases.
He did not see that as his. All right, you know what? Here's what's going to happen. We're going to go into the holiday season, and just when you think everything's just going to, you have the City match where when Arsene gets a lookout, and you go, oh, okay, he's not well. But after that, you're going to start moving ahead in the right direction. He did not. That's not part of. That's. Well, I don't know what phase that is, but it's not one of the 5
phase is not Emile Smith-Rowe. You know, he's not one of the phases.
I'm just talking about what happened during whatever phase that was. Yeah. That wasn't part of any phase. There's just some luck there. You know, I don't think.
Last year, we never heard what the goal of the season was. The season before, we heard top 4. And finally, after last year finishes, we hear it 6th. You're sitting there in December, looking ahead. You're in 4th. You got plenty of opportunities to pick players. But you say, no, we can't pick a player because if we get the player wrong, it's an upset the project. Well, you can fucking sell the player if he's fucked up. But to me, that's weird. When you have a chance of getting 4th, you go for it. You don't just fuck it up like we did.
Well, as Tottenham had a chance of getting 4th, they went for it, they got it. But you can't say Tottenham are sustainably run, you know. I don't think Arsenal let's say Arsenal we're not run like Chelsea of previous years. We get top 4 and then we fade away. I do believe what we're building here at Arsenal is sustainable, and we're gonna grow from this. What?
Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure of anything. All right, Gary, you have to leave. I'll give you a chance to say goodbye.
Enjoy your Peloton, Gary.
Stan, Tony.
Okay, Gary.
I'll see you guys. I'm going away for the weekend, so I'll be.
Are we going?
Yes. Good luck, Gary.
See one of my kids. Yeah.
Where are you going? What part? Where?
Right
what area?
Up in Maine.
Maine. Is that Colorado? Is it?
Northeast.
No,
way up
northeast.
northeast.
Yeah.
Up past Boston.
North of
How far is that
Massachusetts.
from where you live?
Higher than Boston.
Probably about an 8-hour drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Bit of a trek.
Yep.
All right. Be safe,
guys.
Gary.
Everybody in the chat. Thanks for
Well,
joining
you'll be
us.
able to do your thing in the car, right? You got 8 hours. Thoughts on the car?
No, I can do that, but no.
Tony's taking over the weekend. See, Gary. Tony's taking over.
There will be a road trip. We'll have a guest host, so you guys have to check in to see who that guest host is. So there you go.
Maybe Tom, huh?
I don't know. I don't know. have to check it in and see.
Interesting. Tom has set up. Thanks, Gary. Tom has set up a stream for Saturday night. Tony Turner presents the Full Nelson podcast. Yeah, Gary. Tony does a good job. But Stan, in all seriousness, the phases are no particular thing. It's a generalization of where the club needed to go from where it was to where it is now and beyond.
Well, it's working. I mean, we've been top of the league for most of the season, and in second place, with only a couple of points behind. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's improvement to me. Yes, it's disappointing if we don't actually take the trophy, but this is an improvement. For me, it's all about maintaining it, maintaining that, and building on it. That's the key. If this is where we've managed to get to, you can't fall beneath that.
Yeah, the levels. Stephen said phase 1 was use the veterans. It failed, and he was forced into using youth through injuries and COVID. Emile Smith-Rowe and Martinelli were forced on him, forced to play Saliba with White at right back due to injury. All right, let's break it down. Phase 1, definitely use the team that he has. I don't think it failed because you did win a trophy. We did win an FA Cup with Aubameyang, as we mentioned earlier in the podcast.
Willian.
And he was forced into using youth through injuries and COVID. I don't think necessarily there might be a situation where Emile Smith-Rowe comes in. I don't think Martinelli was forced on him. I think Martinelli was always going to be part of the plan. And
Ray, how many games did he?
Hang on.
How many games did he play before Aubameyang got shit canned? How many was it?
It was about 2 more months.
It was 1 game.
Okay.
And it was because of COVID. If not, he wouldn't have played. He was not in his plans because he didn't like the player. Then he's seen him come in for Aubameyang, what he did, and he's like, oh, he does have the talent.
So you're saying Martinelli was not in Arteta's plans?
If you play the fucking guy 1 time and from
but Aubameyang was there, Tony.
If you play the guy,
he can't even believe what he's saying. You're laughing.
I'm laughing because it's so freaking retarded.
You don't believe what you're saying. Stan.
The season before, did he plan to play? Did he plan
I was just going to say, if it wasn't
weigh in on the Martinelli Aubameyang thing.
If it wasn't for the name badge, I would have had no idea who joined us.
Lonnie. Lonnie's here. Listen, I think Aubameyang was standing in front of Martinelli. Aubameyang was getting paid 300 bags a week. He had to get into the team somehow. Aubameyang got suspended. That's why Martinelli got to play. No suspension, no Martinelli. Even Martinelli would have come through eventually.
No.
You're telling me in these last 3.5 years that we wouldn't have seen Martinelli at all?
You weren't seeing him, right?
I'm sorry. Martinelli
did not come on until what it says there, right? Or as I put it, Aubameyang got shit canned. Then he got out there.
So what do you think, Alonso, of the 5 phases that Mikel Arteta must have outlined to the ownership when he was getting the job?
Right. And one of those outlines was to play Tony's Academy kids. like Xhaka, ESR, right?
It's descending into chaos, Stan.
Martinelli. So it was part of the plan.
Those players are already.
I'm talking Tony.
Yeah, Tony, let Alonso speak.
Right. So, the Academy kids came through for him the first couple of years there. And after that. So, sometimes you got to depend on those players with high hopes and bright futures, like Xhaka, like ESR, like Martinelli. He had to have used Martinelli at some point. I don't buy Tony's thinking about using a Boomerang, aka Aubameyang, in that sequence, because there's a talent was there. Emery saw it, right? The scout saw it, so he had to have played somehow, in some way, and Aubameyang was a Boomerang, aka Aubameyang, wasn't doing the job for him, so he had to make a spot for Martinelli.
Yeah, and look, there's probably like 10 or 12 years between their ages, so Aubameyang's getting phased out when Martinelli's coming into his prime here, and we're seeing it now last 2 years. I think the second part of the phase had to be start integrating the young players into this team, and the third phase
They were
is
already in there, right?
we're the youngest team, Tony. We're still the youngest team in
Are
the
we?
Premier League.
Are we younger than Chelsea?
We're the second youngest team. I keep hearing
Yeah.
that. I don't know who
Southampton
the
are the
first.
youngest.
Who's the first then? Who's the
Southampton,
first one? Okay.
and they're going to get relegated, Stan. So
Good shout.
yeah.
Cat's
I think
arse.
we're in phase 3. So, right? Smell that. Phase 3, I think we're in a situation where we're competing. But, I just think Mikel Arteta laid everything out for the ownership, and the ownership has stuck through tough times. We went through a situation, I think, in the second season where we couldn't win a game for 14 games, something like miserable like that. And now we come out the other end of it. We finished 8th twice. We finished 5th last season. We're likely going to finish 2nd this season, if not better.
I have an important. Oh, sorry, Ray. I have an important also that we signed players on loan, and some of them didn't work out. But one player that stuck out for me during that time was Odegaard, right? Because we got him at a time that Real Madrid were thinking about, selling him, but he got loaned out to Arsenal, and he didn't quite have the right right. He didn't quite fit in the first year on loan, but then Arteta had faith in him and said, "Okay, guy, we're going to sign you," and we got him at a decent price. And look where he's at now; he's the captain of our club. So, I think Arteta had a good plan set up for our owners, telling him what he needed, right? And it didn't all work out because you see Ceballos, right? But for the most part, it's kind of worked out for him actually.
Yeah. So at this point, Stan is going to depart. We're going to stick around for just a few more minutes. But Stan, thank you for being here tonight. Good chat.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and I'm really looking forward to this next game, especially against a team that is quite dear to my heart, as you all know, through my family and stuff, and it's always like an exciting fixture for me. Good night to Tony, Alonso, and Ray, and everybody in the chat box. And I'm going to go off and have my dinner and watch episodes of Love Boat on Paramount. That's what I'm going to do. So until we sail again.
So really
have a good week.
See you, pal.
All right. Aubameyang got suspended. There we go. I had that one already. Double O slice. I feel like every year we're always missing that one player to make our squad great. Then when will we get to the point after a transfer window we feel confident we can give it a good go? That's a good question.
You have to get depth of the team. That's what you have to establish.
Yep. I think that's a very good question. Do you feel, Tony, that you're going to feel more confident about this? We can give it a really good go starting next season.
No.
You still have doubts. Say we get Declan Rice and a right centre back cover for Saliba and a striker.
No, the way he doesn't rotate for other competitions, I think it's going to be tough to let him compete in the top 4. I really do.
One ingredient that one player that he's missing that I even linked to, it was a guy by the name of He's Nuts.
I thought you were going to say something serious there for a second, Alonso.
But really, I think. But listen to me.
Yeah.
So, after seeing QR,
yeah.
I think that there's a lot of promise there, right? And I'm very excited about the way how he presents himself, and maybe he could be useful next year more so than he was this year so far.
Yeah.
But I really like what he brings to Arsenal. I think that he was very calm. I think that the first game he was there, he put himself in a position where he could do some big things for us. Sorry, Tony, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, not at all. I think we're going to come up against a team in Newcastle where there will be comparisons with the coach. And I think Eddie Howe has done a really good job with Newcastle. Let's not forget that he's added pieces as well to his team to augment who was there, the players that were already there. And he's done a good job with it. I think Arteta's done the same thing. He's augmented the squad.
Imagine what they're going to do this summer, right?
I wonder what Newcastle are going to do this summer. They will obviously add more pieces to it, but I think Newcastle fan would be able to tell us more about what areas they would need to, because they're watching the team every week, right? We know at Arsenal, we know where we need to strengthen. Where do you think it's very hard to look at Newcastle and say the areas that they need to strengthen in? Maybe attack, right?
Yeah, it's definitely attack.
Another winger, maybe as well. But as Double O Slice said here, we always seem to be that one player behind. Now, let's not forget, 3 or 4 years ago, Manchester City were spanking us 3-0 at home when we were really poor, and they did spank us last week. So we still have a big gap to go, but we've come a long way. I feel like I could say we could give it a real go if we get a Declan Rice, a really good striker, and a right centre-back cover as well. Moving forward, I think we could do that.
You're forgetting about left back?
Left back, we talked about that as well. That's a situation. If Kieran Tierney moves, we need to address that. Alonso laughed. I bet he was talking about his nuts. Yep. Trademark, Alonso.
We also need a left center back too.
Left center back.
Yeah.
Well, we have Kiwior is the left center back.
He is, but Gabriel, I really don't care for him as a player.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I know you're not sold on him, but I think he's been one of our best players this season.
That's kind of iffy there.
He hasn't been perfect, but he's been one of our best players, I do believe.
He must be doing something
Gary,
right if he's played 3,800 minutes.
He's played a lot of minutes.
So has Xhaka.
Yeah.
Like Gary said, 3,240.
Alonso.
Right, but like Gary said, we need to be perfect, and he hasn't been perfect to me.
Yeah, exactly. Double O Slice said we always do just enough, but to win the Premier League, you need more than enough. I'm not saying we can compete with City money-wise. We have to find a way to go that extra mile. This is the thing. We're not going to be able to compete with City financially, but there are players out there in the world that are not part of the City setup. We can go and target, and we have to go and do that. Identify the right players' mentality and talent that can make us better, Tony. Raise our depth, our strength in depth up, so we don't have to rely on a Rob Holding or Nketiah or Cedric or even Fabio Vieira, who we hope will be better next season.
What about a Charlie Patino and a...
Well,
don't say Tavares. Please don't say Tavares.
There's been talk about Charlie.
He would be great.
Oh my
God. Would be great.
He wouldn't. He sucks, man. He's not good enough for Arsenal.
Ray, what
Tony,
does Chico do?
Tony,
we don't use a fullback.
Tony, I'm here too, Tony.
He is a wing back.
Tony, I'm here too, Tony. Tony, I'm here too, Tony.
You're here too. Alonso's
Yeah.
here too. Yeah. I think Tony's trying to convince me. No, I'm not particularly interested in Tavares, Tony,
No, you're not.
coming back. We're going beyond Tavares. Unfortunately, we're going beyond Charlie Patino. I think Charlie Patino can be a player who can be sold with a sell-on clause or a buyback clause. But I don't think. I think, unfortunately, when the levels of our team get higher, it's harder to be able to fill those levels with academy players. You know,
Academy, no, Tony's academy kids.
Tony's academy kids, and we have to move beyond that. Well, listen, I think we're getting close to signing off here, everybody. We really appreciate you watching live or on playback. If you have a chance, drop a comment in the box, interact with us. We'll try to interact back to you. Something we're going to try and get better with, especially going through the summer transfer windows. We'll talk about who's coming in, who's going out, and slap a like on the video. Hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, and if you're
forgetting our history, right?
what's your history?
No, our history. You're forgetting players like Fabregas and those that were very young. Wenger trusted their young players.
Yeah, but Fabregas had the quality.
There are other players that have the quality, right?
Tony,
If you're going to run up and down the left side of a pitch, Tavares can do that.
Tavares.
If you're going to sit there and defend, no, he cannot do that. Zinchenko's not a good defender. So it's a wash there.
Yeah. All right. I think we shall leave it there. We've talked about the 5 phases of our Arteta's plan. I think we're in phase 3. You know, hopefully the next 2 phases are us strengthening and next season going after the Premier League and the Champions League and being competitive
Just
in all 4 competitions, right, Tony?
Another thing, you don't think we'd be better off now if we had Cedric? So you could actually play wide as a center back?
Would you play Cedric at Newcastle?
Yep.
No way, Tony.
What's he good at? Arteta said he was the best crosser on the team. He's good at attack.
Tony.
That's what we do now.
We cannot play Cedric.
Tony, stop reading Metro.
We cannot play Cedric. BX Gunner, be with us at 2 p.m. on Sunday. It'll be right after that Newcastle game. Hopefully, we're going to be talking about a brilliant result, a great game, and we will have a Kahoot show as well. Usman's going to join us on Sunday as well. Usman has reached out, so he's going to join us.
What will Usman be consuming while he's with us?
Well, I don't know. I hope
he always eats. He always eats.
Stephen, in what phase does Arteta improve his game management? It's got to happen next season. It's got to happen next season. I agree with you, Stephen. He hasn't been perfect in making his substitutions and actually picking the correct lineups. That's something that he's got to learn, and he's in his 4th year. 4th year as a manager now. Later, guys. Thanks for being here, 00 Slice X. Really appreciate. We'll go through the roll call actually, and then we'll get out of here. Let's batter Newcastle, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So listen, we'll be back here on Sunday. Let's do a quick roll call for who was here today. Alonso's here. Tony's here. Stan was here. Gary was here.
I was in both places, right?
You were. You'll get a call out in the chat box then as well. Okay. 00 Slice X was here. The Arsenal Misfit Stephen was here. BX Gunner was here. Mr. Tom is here. If any of you want to shout out somebody, you can shout out as well. Go for it. Who else was here? Bargov was in here. Was in the house.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that haven't been here for a while joined us.
Bargov
was there.
Hey, Gary. Is Mr. Tong gonna be in the backstage?
Chris Nix was here. Lolo was here from On the Stoop. Go check out Lolo tomorrow.
Thanks, Ray.
Revenite was here earlier. Who else? Sam Greenwood was here as well.
Tony.
And Tony Turner was here.
Steven and
Tony, tell Tom to join us backstage, please.
Tell Tom to join us backstage, please. Okay. I should drop the link in there, shouldn't I, Dan? Do you think that he's going to do that?
I want to give him my picks for Backlash.
Okay. Alonso, give us your final thoughts then about Sunday, Newcastle, and even the Chelsea game. A little bit of that.
When is the Arsenal Newcastle game?
Sunday.
Right.
That's
so
hard, yeah.
It's the 11:30 or 4:30 game.
I think Tony was going to talk real quick. Anyway, right. So yeah, I'm hoping for Arsenal win, of course. You know, I hope that we blow them out. Last time they kind of bullied us.
No one was here.
Then again, I was at work, so just time to watch the game, and I want to send a special shout out to Martin Truex Jr. for winning on Monday.
Yes,
rather.
yes.
And
the Arsenal fan circle NASCAR driver Martin Truex
Jr. Not Martin Truex, Martin Truex Jr.
Truex.
Right. So yeah. So good night, everyone. I hope that you guys have a good weekend, and I look forward to talking to you on Sunday.
Come on, Mr. Tom, rally your fans, beat a 12-man against City. You can do it. Mr. Tom is in bed. All right, everybody. Tony, say good night or add a few words to it.
This game is a game I was very concerned about 3-4 weeks ago. Before we kind of went through that bad patch. Now we went through a bad patch. Now this game is definitely a must win. And just to me, that game last year, every time I think about it, I just see because not one player on a pitch looked like they wanted to be there. We just got totally drummed by them. They just blew us out of the water. This time the players have to show up. Then after that week, they have to show up against the relegation teams because they're going to be given a hell of a fight to try to stay up, especially as much as a clusterfuck it is from 12th to 15th. Because you still have Chelsea that can get relegated. That's crazy.
Yeah, Tucker, your sentiments. Newcastle last year was not a lot of fun. No effort. You talked about the atmosphere up there, and we didn't have anything left in us to take on Newcastle. This is so important. City, Manchester City, I know I've been talking about as if we're going to finish second because realistically, you have to think Man City are going to finish things, but you never know. You never know if City are going to drop points against Leeds, against Everton, against Brighton, against Brentford, or even against Chelsea. City could drop points, and we have to be there to take advantage. We've dropped points in so many areas of this season. We need to regain some of those points. Liverpool have been the only team that have beaten Newcastle.
Do you know what City needs? Right?
What City needs? What?
Some tainted lasagna.
Some tainted lasagna. That's the only. I hope we can do it on the pitch. We can win our 4 games, and I hope that a Leeds and Everton, a Brighton, Brentford, or Chelsea can take points away from City because they have to drop some points. Mr. Tom will be here. Grab the link. If anyone else wants to come backstage and say hello, we'll be here for a few minutes. There'll be a little bit of banter. But until then, Tony, Alonso, thanks for being here. Looks like Tony has one final thing to say.
I always have one final thing to say.
Right, Alonso?
Good night, Tony.
Good night, Tony. All right, we'll see you on Sunday. Let's get a result up in Newcastle. We'll be here. Take care. We'll be coming live right after that game.